This was the 8th grade Earth Evil Ghost's most powerful killing move, and if it was a 9th grade Earth Evil Ghost, it could release the Hell Ghost from within its chest, which would be the real terror. A mere ghost dares to disturb the golden body of this poor monk. Daluo spell. Guiyenin shouted in anger. As he resisted the suction, a series of Buddhist glows lit up on his back, each forming into phantom images. They were arhats, some sitting, some standing, now all glaring furiously at the Earth Evil Ghost, this action directly blasting the ghost far away. The cultivation techniques of Lingfa Temple were particularly effective against ghosts. Even 8th grade fierce ghosts could do nothing against them. However, upon seeing this, Lu Jingshi's face revealed a deep smile, because his goal had been achieved. Just as Guiyenin was distracted dealing with the Earth Evil Ghost, a sky dome river had already surged toward him, crashing against him like it was slamming into a reef, and within only a few seconds, Guiyenin was swept into the river. The river water, tainted with aura of the Tao, formed a vortex centered around Guiyenin. Guiyenin's flesh was like it was thrown into a blender, layers of flesh and bones being ground to pieces. The primordial spirit of the God unification domain struggled to escape, but the river water firmly dragged it down, and it, too, dissipated in the river, leaving behind only one final cry of rage and despair. Zhuang Liangru, you have made me suffer greatly. This was the last sound Guiyenin left in this world before both his physical body and divine soul were obliterated in the Sky Dome River. A Taoist platform realm cultivator had fallen, all within less than a minute. Anything related to the Tao, whether it be elixirs, formations, magic artifacts, or cultivation techniques, is utterly terrifying. A cultivator of the Taoist platform realm might be able to terrify a province, but under an attack of the Tao level, they're nothing more than slightly stronger little bugs. The death of a cultivator at the Taoist platform realm made a big commotion. Many elders and inner disciples witnessing such a scene were on the verge of a morale collapse. Zhuang Liangru, who saw the same scene, had no time for grief. Seeing Zhang Junwei approaching again and the nearby Sky Dome River stirring, he had to suppress his frustration and shouted across the battlefield. All righteous disciples, heed my command. Retreat. Everyone retreat from the battlefield. As soon as the words were out, Zhuang Liangru was the first to flee. He wasn't sure he could handle Zhang Junwei while facing an attack from the Sky Dome River. The 100 rivers covering sea array he released had now become the deadliest threat. Seeing Zhuang Liangru fleeing, Zhang Junwei held a crystal-clear jade worm in his hand. This tiny insect was only the size of an infant's fist, its skin semi-transparent, revealing concentric rings, layer upon layer of skin, amounting to thousands of layers. This was the top grade 9 refinement goo worm year ringworm. Like a tree, the year ringworm would grow a new ring every year, increasing its size slightly. Its most significant feature was its exceedingly long lifespan. The older the year ringworm, the more formidable its combat power. The one in Zhang Junwei's hand was the life-bound poisonous insect of several previous sect masters. It had outlived several sect masters, and whenever a sect master retired or died, they would dissolve the contract with this worm and hand it over to the next sect master. Its lifespan could be traced back 1,000 years, witnessing the rise and fall of Ghost Ridge Palace, equivalent to living from the Song dynasty to modern society, a proper ancient ancestor. It was the true sect treasure of Ghost Ridge Palace, not to be used lightly. Because it was extremely lethargic, once used, it would fall into a slumber lasting a few years to several decades. Zhang Junwei took a deep breath and aimed the year ringworm at the fleeing Zhuang Liangru. He had not used the year ringworm in the previous battle, waiting for a chance for a one-hit kill. The palm-sized year ringworm that felt like a warm jade slightly expanded, not showing any other action. In the distance, the fleeing Zhuang Liangru's body stiffened, his eyes widened, and a look of terror appeared on his face. Bang, 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 bang. A series of automatically triggered protective talismans and magical treasures lit up for a second and then instantly burst, his body beginning to undergo horrific changes. The traces of the tree rings emerged on his scalp, and in the next moment, Zhuang Liangru's skin began to shed layer by layer like the bark of an aged tree. With each layer that shed off, The newly exposed skin beneath wasn't bloody and tender flesh, but an even more delicate and fair layer of skin. Annual ringworm. Zhuang Liangru's voice was full of terror. He had certainly heard of the infamous annual ringworm from Ghost Ridge Palace. This creature had lived so long and had been used by the former sect master of Ghost Ridge Palace against enemies. It could be said that every time the annual ringworm was deployed, even those in the Taoist platform realm would face death or serious injury. Rip. Rip. Zhuang Liangru's body was completely beyond his control. His skin was mismatched with his body, layer after layer falling off, making him look smaller and younger, and his strength was diminishing rapidly and regressing. Seeing that he was powerless to reverse the situation, and his spiritual power couldn't stop this transformation, Zhuang Liangru gritted his teeth and took out a golden talisman. This was specially prepared for battle, distributed by the sect master of Guanchao Pavilion to counter the annual ringworm, an exceedingly costly spirit treasure talisman, the result of many years of research as a measure against the annual ringworm. Bang! With a flash of golden light from the talisman, all of a sudden, Zhuang Liangru's lower body was blown to bits, leaving only the upper half of his body intact. As the golden light on the talisman faded to a grayish-white, a gust of wind blew by, turning the entire talisman into dust. And that bizarre skin shedding of his body also vanished at the same time. Although he was in a dire state, at least his life was saved. The half-bodied Zhuang Liangru quickly plunged into a flying magical boat. Then, controlling the magical boat, he fled headlong in the direction away from the battlefield without looking back. Damn it! Zhang Junwei's face darkened. Just as he was about to control the annual ringworm again, he saw the two sesame-sized eyes of the worm in the palm of his hand turn upwards in a dead faint, and then the worm burrowed into a jade box, where a nest made of ice silkworm silk was spread out. It tucked itself into the bedding, covered up with the blanket, and fell into a deep sleep, ignoring everyone else. Even though he had a contract with the annual ringworm, dealing with a worm that had served several generations of sect masters proved quite difficult for Zhang Junwei. Simply relying on the contract to restrain it was tough too. The annual ringworm seemed to have developed resistance to contracts after being repeatedly unbound and contracted, which made it very difficult to forcibly control the worm using insect control techniques. You're lucky. Zhang Junwei carefully put the annual ringworm away, not pursuing the chase any further. Watching the large flying magical boat disappear into the distance, he turned his attention to troubling other righteous cultivators. As of now, with Zhuang Liangru's escape and the fall of Guoyenin, the righteous sect's ranks had completely collapsed. Countless righteous disciples and elders were shredded into nothing by the 100 rivers covering Cia. Upon hearing the order to retreat, they couldn't care less about anything else and ran away without looking back. And behind them, the completely frenzied demon cultivators naturally wouldn't miss the chance to kick a man when he was down, continuing to pursue and kill the fleeing victims relentlessly. A large number of righteous disciples were slaughtered, and the bodies littered the hillsides, a scene too tragic to bear. Time to hit the road. Upon seeing this scene, Su Jie gently flicked his finger. A roaring sky dome river swallowed the desperately fleeing Huiji monk. This prominent monk, who had been in conflict with Su Jie, had been deliberately left alive by Su Jie until now, just so he could witness the collapse of his own righteous sect. Now, with the total defeat of the righteous sect, Su Jie naturally had no reason to let him leave alive. Just like countless other enemies, he became one more aggrieved soul under the 100 rivers covering Cia. Compared to the chase by the demon disciples, the 100 rivers covering Cia controlled by Su Jie was the real powerhouse. Under his command, over 100 sky dome rivers, like huge serpents, crushed and devoured those righteous cultivators into powder. The chase continued for a full 15 minutes, but the array that Su Jie controlled became slower and slower because the 100 rivers covering Cia could no longer be controlled by Su Jie. To be precise, the array could no longer control itself. The supply of spirit stone resources left for the 100 rivers covering Cia had been depleted, and without an energy source, the formation naturally dissipated. Taking advantage of the final moment, Su Jie eradicated a batch of righteous cultivators. When the entire 100 rivers covering Cia disappeared, Su Jie looked out over the entire battlefield and could no longer see a single righteous cultivator. What remained were only broken bodies, and on the volcanic group battlefield, Ghost Ridge Palace had achieved an unprecedented victory. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Report chapter. It's over, huh? Su Jie put away the 10,000 soul banner, after having absorbed a massive number of dead souls from the battlefield. The banner now a shade of black tinged with red. It was a pity that the cultivators killed by the 100 rivers covering sea array on the battlefield had been completely annihilated, body and soul. Otherwise, if the 10,000 soul banner had absorbed their divine souls, Su Jie's banner would have ascended to the rank of the million soul banner long ago. Now there are probably 400,000 to 500,000 Yin souls, and I don't know when it will be able to upgrade to the level of a million soul banner. Su Jie muttered to himself. Once the number of Yin souls inside the 10,000 soul banner broke through 1,000,000, its power would rise to another level. Turning his head, Su Jie looked towards Han Ruyan, vaguely sensing the strong, swelling power of an eerie force within her. On the battlefield, she had harvested a great deal of fear, and had it not been for the later intervention of the Heavenly Soul Sect, sweeping in, Han Ruyan might very well have ascended then and there to a 7th grade fierce ghost. Because of her Ghost King physique, her advancement was more difficult than that of ordinary fierce ghosts. Correspondingly, once she advanced, her combat power would far exceed that of other ghosts of the same rank. This decisive battle had brought Su Jie tremendous gains, not to mention the spoils from slaying 6 secret realm elders. Among them was Wei Ji, the immortal seed, whose low-grade magical treasure and storage bag both fell into Su Jie's hands. Not to mention other spiritual materials and resources, the starting price for just one low-grade magical treasure was as high as 1,000,000 spirit stones. After a quick tally, Su Jie figured out that the spirit stone value of his various resources from this battle amounted to a staggering 8,000,000, of which Wei Ji alone had contributed over 6,000,000. Truly worthy of being an immortal seed. Even in death, you've burst out so many gold coins for me. Su Jie smiled, looking at Wei Ji's corpse in the storage bag. Just his body, if taken to be sold, would fetch at least several 100,000 spirit stones on its own. Many would certainly desire the body of an immortal seed. While Su Jie was gleefully tallying up his gains, the entire volcanic battlefield also came to a complete rest. The Demon Path troops chasing after their targets began to retreat one by one, and the high-ranking members of the sects also returned. What they had gained in this battle was already plenty. To continue the pursuit without the 100 rivers covering sea array, they risked a counterattack from the righteous sect, which would make any further losses unjustifiable, even if the adversaries likely lacked the will to fight back by then. Among the returning groups, Su Jie also spotted something enormous. It was a gigantic flying magical boat, hundreds of meters long, with 7 or 8 massive breaches torn into its hull. The spiritual material constructed body had dimmed of any spiritual power and had completely lost the ability to fly, now bound by massive ropes and dragged along by dozens of huge poisonous insects, transporting it back. This kind of flying magical boat, which the 1,000-hand centipede had struggled to damage, had ultimately not withstood the onslaught of the Demon Path elders during the retreat and was forcefully brought down, smoking. Below the boat, a group of disciples from the puppet hall had all come here, their eyes eagerly fixed on the colossal object. And standing on the foredeck of the boat, a group of Ghost Ridge Palace elders stood triumphantly, trampling the magical boat, a symbol of Guan Chao Pavilion's once formidable strength, beneath their feet. Master Elder Tang. Su Jie jumped over, landing on the deck of the boat. All the high-ranking members of Ghost Ridge Palace were there, and they were all acquaintances of Su Jie. Not bad, you have exceeded me. Out of all my disciples, you have proven to be the most outstanding, Taoist Chiu said when he saw Su Jie. His eyes filled with exceptional satisfaction and a hint of sentimentality. Although the demon path tended to grow quickly in the early stages, someone with Su Jie's rate of growth was frightening, even among the immortal seeds. Hearing Taoist Chiu's words, The rest of the elders' eyes gleamed uncontrollably with envy. To have an immortal seed disciple who had truly grown into his potential, such a disciple was an immense source of pride for any master. It's all thanks to your fine teaching, master. Whatever my prowess, it's prowess I've learned from you. By the way, where is Senior Yu? Following the flow of the conversation, Su Jie suddenly asked about something, noticing that Yu Wenxian was not seen on the battlefield. She's gone missing. The disciples who accompanied her on the communication-breaking mission have all lost contact. It is possible they were killed by a righteous sect. Taoist Chiu shook his head solemnly. This sect war had cost him more than half of his disciples, a testament to the brutality of warfare, and he had come to view death with equanimity. Is that so? Su Jie's eyes flickered subtly, wondering whether Yu Wenxian had truly died or had sensed something amiss and fled early. In the midst of his ponderings, Zhang Junwei, sect master of Ghost Ridge Palace, and Lu Jingshi, sect master of Heavenly Soul Sect, descended from the sky. Ha ha, Su Jie. Was the upheaval with the 100 rivers covering sea array you're doing? Zhang Junwei asked as he saw Su Jie. His tone inquiring but his expression already certain. It was my doing. I discovered the base of the 100 rivers covering sea array at Raoyang Lake. I chose not to destroy it but instead buried a trap within it, never expecting that Guanchao Pavilion would truly fall for it. Su Jie unabashedly admitted, as now was not the time to feign ignorance and weakness. Besides, with Su Jie's current strength, there was no need to fear anyone. The surrounding Ghost Ridge Palace elders, upon hearing this, also looked at Su Jie with admiration and awe. Su Jie's formidable personal strength, having defeated and killed Wei Ji, the top immortal seed of Qingzhou's younger generation, and recording a grand victory in a solo fight against 5 secret realm elders, had commanded respect. Added to Su Jie's recent domination of the 100 rivers covering sea array, killing mercilessly, even these proud and unyielding elders of the demon path were won over. Good, good, good. Zhang Junwei repeated the word good 3 times, his face unable to hide his smile. Brother Zhang, your sect is truly brimming with talent. Lu Jingshi, the sect master of Heavenly Soul Sect, spoke with envy. They wanted an immortal seed like Su Jie in the Heavenly Soul Sect too. Brother Lu is too kind. I believe that once the Heavenly Soul Sect regains its strength, you will surely find many outstanding disciples soon. Zhang Junwei seemed humble, but his smile never left his face. It's not easy to cultivate an immortal seed. I hope our 2 sects can collaborate more in the future. I will encourage my disciples to use your sect's immortal seed as a benchmark and learn from your experience in nurturing disciples. Lu Jingshi nodded his head. His gaze swept past Han Rian, who was following Su Jie, but he didn't ask a single question, making his attitude clear. Of course, of course. Zhang Junwei nodded with a smile and promised Su Jie. You are the one who contributed the most to this war. Whatever you want, I will grant it when we return. Su Jie's eyes lit up as he pointed at the flying magical boat beneath his feet. Sect Master, can I have this big fellow right now? Our puppet hall wants to study it. Upon hearing this, Zhang Junwei, without a second thought, declared generously, Then it's yours to take, puppet hall. But the boat is severely damaged. Whether your puppet hall can repair it depends on your own skills. Additionally, we will discuss your reward upon our return and then grant it to you. Our refining hall will also lend a hand. Tang Peiqing spoke up from the side, showing his goodwill towards Su Jie. After today's battle, Su Jie's name would certainly resound throughout Ghost Ridge Palace and Qingzhou, becoming a pivotal figure within the sect. Not to mention Tang Peiqing was already on good terms with Su Jie. Even a stranger would do their utmost to befriend him. Thank you, Sect Master and Elder Tang. Su Jie bowed his hands in thanks and began to scrutinize the huge magical boat while gesturing for the puppet hall disciples to come over. Long live the hall master. Upon hearing that the giant flying magical boat would belong to Puppet Hall, the disciples were so excited that they were beside themselves with joy. If it weren't for the presence of the high-rank officials from the sect, they would surely be jumping up and down. Su Jie looked at the magical boat, which was constructed from giant wood and adorned with numerous mysterious array talisman long banners. The boat's roof and sides were made of jade glazed tiles and Qingming gold copper, sparkling brilliantly under the sunlight. The towering cabin at the bow featured divine beast totems carved on both sides, and the boat's internal structure was the epitome of spiritual material essence. The creators used clever craftsmanship and skilled artifact refining techniques to build this vessel that traverses the sky, serving as both a means of transportation and a war machine. However, this once elegant magical boat, which was shrouded in clouds and glimmering with celestial light, ready to sail through the sea of clouds, had been severely damaged. The huge breach Su Jie had seen on the outside was just the beginning. The interior had been thoroughly wrecked by various magic, with broken spiritual materials and shattered array patternwood everywhere, along with marks of burning, lightning strikes, insect damage, and flooding. As he continued his inspection, Su Jie arrived at the core interior of the flying magical boat, a massive array that was the array eye connecting the entire vessel. It was a 10-meter-tall jade pillar that could be encircled by a person's arms. Inside the jade, a golden fire phoenix was sealed with its wings spread, as if it could burst through the clouds at any moment. It was engulfed in flames and emitted terrifying heat. But now, this jade pillar was riddled with large cracks, letting the high temperature escape. Even from tens of meters away, Su Jie could feel a wave of spiritual energy heat rushing towards him. Beside it, there was a huge crystal ball that could project the reflection of the entire vicinity of the magical boat and the surrounding sky. This must be the Fire Phoenix Feather. What a lavish touch, truly impressive. Tang Peiqing, who followed Su Jie inside, immediately had his eyes light up upon seeing the Fire Phoenix in the center. A Fire Phoenix, on par with the true dragon. Su Jie leaned in for a closer look, only to discover that the illusory fire phoenix within the jade pillar was in fact just a feather as long as an arm. This feather shimmered with a deep crimson hue, its plume dancing like flames, as if forged from an intense fire, exuding an immortal and formidable aura of flames. As he drew nearer, the wave of heat grew even more astonishing. The heat radiating from the feather seemed to distort the very air itself. Visions of an illusion realm appeared before Su Jie, as if a real fire phoenix with spread wings soared high, its fiery blaze igniting the entire sky dome, shining like a glittering star of flame, causing his eyes to ache. The fire phoenix, a type of phoenix, is a spiritual beast on par with the true dragon, known as the king of all birds, supremely divine and sacred, symbolizing life, spirit, and immortality. It was clear that the feather before him was an authentic fire phoenix feather. Only such a supreme spiritual beast could lend a single feather to form the core of a several hundred-meter-long flying magical boat. Su Jie marveled at the everlasting fire phoenix feather, emitting infinite light and heat, almost like controlled nuclear fusion. What a pity, the magic boat is too badly damaged. Who knows how much wealth and spirit stones it would take to repair it. This fire phoenix feather can't be used for now, lamented Su Jie. Su Jie sighed, looking helplessly at Tang Peiqing by his side. With his hands spread wide, Tang Peiqing said, "It's not that we didn't hold back, but the array masters on those magic boats chose to destroy them, not wanting us to obtain an intact flying magical boat." Upon hearing this, Su Jie said nothing more, for to him, even a heavily damaged magic boat was of extraordinary significance. The technology it contained could not only enhance the foundation of the puppet hall, but if Su Jie learned it, he could also apply it on Blue Star, not forgetting that he was a puppet master himself. While he was immersed in research, the entirety of the volcanic battlefields was cleared by the demon cultivators, and the surviving demon cultivators triumphantly returned home with their spoils of war, elated and high-spirited. As for the news of this battle with the defeat of the Righteous Alliance army, it began to spread like wildfire. Several days later, all of Qingzhou, from the famous families to the high-ranking officials, from the cultivation families to the immortal sects, was profoundly shaken. Guanchao Pavilion, Miaoyin Temple, Purple Mist Sect, Dragon and Tiger Sect, and Golden Sword Sect, 5 sects joined forces, along with Lingfa Temple providing external support, a total of 80,000 cultivators, powerful enough to crush Ghost Ridge Palace. Yet, they faced a catastrophic defeat in the sect warfare aimed at eradicating Ghost Ridge Palace. Out of 80,000 cultivators, fewer than 5,000 survived, with 83 Secret Realm elders perishing and one of the two Taoist platform realm cultivators falling while the other was seriously injured. Such news could be described as nothing short of a 10-magnitude earthquake for Qingzhou. All individuals knowledgeable about cultivation were shocked beyond measure. For many years, it had always been the righteous sects dominating the demon path, and to find a historical precedent for the rise of the demon path and the decline of the righteous sects in Qingzhou, one would have to go back countless years. Soon, as more details of the battlefield emerged, a name spread throughout Qingzhou, becoming known to countless loose cultivators and viewed with animosity by numerous righteous sects. Su Jie, notorious for decapitating Wei Ji in the sect war and for the remarkable feat of slaying 5 secret realm powerhouses. Many cultivators who heard this news simply couldn't believe it. Who was Wei Ji, if not the foremost among Qingzhou's younger generation, unbeatable among his peers, and standing at the pinnacle of the secret realm, looking down on all others at a young age. To think that such an immortal seed had reportedly fallen to an obscure demon cultivator named Su Jie in direct combat was implausible.
Цомпаретто veis illustrius reputation sue inded laced notorieti.
Although he had achieved some feats before, most of his reputation was built in the Yunling realm. After advancing to the secret realm, Su Jie did not acquire much fame for noteworthy accomplishments. He remained relatively unknown. However, regardless of Su Jie's previous obscurity or the righteous sect's animosity towards him, by slaying Wei Ji, the immortal seed, Su Jie's name truly reverberated across Qingzhou, securing his place as the preeminent figure among Qingzhou's younger generation, his title growing ever more formidable. Even ordinary civilians, in order to discipline unruly children, only had to invoke the name of Su Jie to immediately scare them into behaving and scurrying back into their mother's arms, effectively using it to quiet crying infants. Su Jie's reputation spread not only across Qingzhou, but as the sect wars came to their conclusion, neighboring states also began to hear of the name of corpse hand manslaughter. After the sect war, along with the outcome, the demonic name of Su Jie's bloodthirsty nature also spread widely. Inside the Ghost Ridge Palace's mountain gate, although they had won the sect war, Ghost Ridge Palace itself also suffered great losses. Many disciples and elders fell during the war, with the number reduced by half compared to before the conflict began. With the nature of the righteous sects, it was impossible to expect any war reparations. Although the opposition had also suffered loss in troops, their deep-rooted foundation meant that if Ghost Ridge Palace overstepped, the enemy might forcibly gather forces and strike back. The sparse number of disciples led the leaders of Ghost Ridge Palace to immediately decide to open the mountain gate wide and recruit new disciples on a large scale, loosening the conditions significantly. Ghost Ridge Palace, having just achieved a spectacular victory, was now in its most highly esteemed and sought-after state. Although joining a demon sect didn't sound good, it still promised a path to longevity. There were too many unfulfilled loose cultivators in this world, most of whom had tried to join righteous sects but were often turned away due to poor talents. Righteous sects would choose disciples, sometimes not only testing talent but also examining the disciple's temperament, emphasizing virtues such as benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faith. However, at Ghost Ridge Palace they refused no one. It didn't matter if your talent was poor, as long as you were human and could refine spiritual energy, you could become an outer disciple, a glorious expendable resource. As for temperament, demon cultivators didn't care about such things. If you were a cruel and despicable spirit, it didn't matter here. Therefore, when Ghost Ridge Palace opened its gates for recruitment, the scene at the mountain gate was packed like a bustling market. There were not only self-motivated loose cultivators but also numerous black market merchants, and common folk recruited from various places. After a simple test confirmed their talents, their families were given some money. Then they were brought here and sold to Ghost Ridge Palace for a profit. There are indeed a lot of people. Hey, Su Jie, are you also recruiting disciples? Ning Xinyue fanned her small hand, looking at the tightly packed queue of newcomers lining up in front of her, chaotic like a busy market. On one side, behind a table where elders sat, Sujie fiddled with two magical treasures in his hand. A defensive purple jade umbrella, capable of autonomously protecting its user, and an offensive wind and thunder fan, which upon waving brought forth simultaneous winds and thunders. Both of these low-grade magical treasures were obtained from Wei Ji. Spiritual light surged from Sujie's palm, seeping into the magical treasures, gradually erasing the prohibitions left by Wei Ji and reshaping them into his own style, a process which could take up to 10 days to half a month, as refining low-grade magical treasures was no simple task. I'm not recruiting disciples. I'm hiring workers. Puppet Hall needs some labor. Sujie looked up and tucked away the two magical treasures, stepping out from behind the table, and called out to the crowd. Is there any newcomer willing to join Puppet Hall? The treatment is excellent, starting with a salary of 10 spirit stones per month. Puppet Hall now had a flying magical boat to study, and in order to meet Sujie's demands, they needed a substantial amount of manpower. Ordinary people wouldn't suffice. They had to be cultivators bearing spiritual power. These new recruits just joining the sect became Sujie's preferred targets. They were cheap and available in large quantities, perfectly suited for the assembly line work in Puppet Hall. Ah, that's Corpse Hand Manslaughter Sujie. I've seen his wanted portrait. I want to join, Master Su. I want to become your disciple. Who is he? You guys are so excited. You don't know him? The strongest among the young generation in Qingzhou, the legendary devil who kills without blinking. If you can learn even half a move from him, you'd worry neither for food and drink nor for your life. Puppet Hall is said to be extremely important within Ghost Ridge Palace, and with a strong person like Corpse Hand Manslaughter managing it, joining would surely bring benefits. After Sujie came forward, the scene immediately became noisy. Many newcomers, having heard of the name Corpse Hand Manslaughter Sujie, hurriedly came in large numbers, lining up to join under the auspices of Puppet Hall. Some were drawn by Sujie's reputation, others were enticed by the treatment offered to newcomers by Puppet Hall, hoping to gamble for wealth and honor here. The former was Sujie, who had just become famous in Qingzhou, and the latter was also made famous within Ghost Ridge Palace by the rocket artillery in one battle. These were points highly desirable to newcomers. Not to mention the treatment laid out by Sujie, which was quite good for newcomers. Who again spread my name? Corpse Hand Manslaughter? It sounds like a bloodthirsty person. Do I look like that kind of person? Sujie's eye twitched slightly. He had achieved the secret realm, yet the reputation he made in Yunling realm still clung to him. It seemed this title was inescapable. Ning Xinyue giggled beside him and said, You don't just look like it. It perfectly suits you. TCH. Sujie knocked on Ning Xinyue's head. Looking at the long queue before him, he decisively continued with the recruitment. Sujie wasn't fussy about the talent of these newcomers. As long as they joined the assembly line in Puppet Hall, even the worst talent was sufficient. Thus, the entire recruitment went extremely smoothly, and by the end of the day, Sujie had recruited thousands of new people for Puppet Hall. Time flies like an arrow. 6 months later, Ghost Ridge Palace, Puppet Hall. Sujie, wearing the Elder's magic robe, leisurely walked through. The first thing that caught the eye in Puppet Hall was the hundreds of meters-long flying magical boat. On the huge gargantuan magical boat, disciples of Puppet Hall hopped up and down. Some disciples handled spirit gold and materials, welding at the gaps. Others dismantled broken materials for repairs and polishing, or replaced them with new materials. Disciples were busy drawing new arrays, constantly conducting experiments. Since the arrays in the flying magical boat had mostly been destroyed, they needed to be researched and tested again to suit the overall characteristics of the flying magical boat. On the entire magical boat, there were hundreds of busy disciples, all skilled artisans from the Puppet Hall. Ordinary disciples could not participate at all in taking on the arduous task of repairing the flying magical boat. In 6 months, about 20% of the damage to the flying magical boat had been repaired. The cost for this was 2 million spirit stones from the Puppet Hall's own coffers and 1 million spirit stones sponsored by the sect. A total of 3 million spirit stones had been spent. It was like a gold-devouring beast, continuously consuming financial resources. It was no wonder that among the many sects in Qingzhou, only the large and wealthy Guanchao Pavilion could afford to operate a flying magical boat. Hall Master! Hall Master! Hall Master! As soon as Su Jie entered the puppet hall, shouts rang out. The disciples respectfully greeted Su Jie. Most of them were of lower cultivation in the first and second levels of Yunling realm and had found good jobs here in the puppet hall. They all felt grateful to Su Jie. Su Jie nodded slightly and continued walking past the flying magical boat. In addition to the repairs of the flying magical boat, the area of the entire puppet hall had once again expanded several times. The place was like a busy factory, with more than 1,500 disciples bustling about. They were performing completely manual labor, but the speed was in no way inferior to that of modern mechanized and intelligent factories. With the involvement of spiritual power, a magical energy, and the Superman-like physical quality of each individual, they were able to complete tasks that seemed quite impossible to ordinary people. For example, the giant puppet arm that Su Jie was now looking at. Its construction completely exceeded the imagination of ordinary people. Pieces of iron were thrown into a pit, and a disciple at the 5th level of Yunling realm, who practiced the molten fiery light art, stood at the edge of the pit. He exhaled gently, spewing a flame that expanded and covered a 10-meter diameter pit. The pieces of iron were heated until they were scorching hot and then gradually melted, turning into a crude mixture of iron liquid and slag. Normally, turning iron into steel would require several processes: crushing, screening, and beneficiation to separate minerals from impurities. Then, the iron would be sintered to reduce it to metallic iron, refined into pig iron, and only then would it be subjected to other procedures and materials to make steel and various alloys. But in the puppet hall, all these complicated procedures were unnecessary. There were no sophisticated converters or refining furnaces or any other heavy machinery, as everything was accomplished purely by manpower. The molten iron liquid in the pit churned unpredictably. After some materials were added, it mixed into the required metal material. Several puppet hall disciples created wind in their palms, separated the iron liquid, and rapidly cooled and solidified it into simple steel rough castings. Then, there were disciples specifically practicing the sky-splitting palm to split and polish the steel, shaping it into the required form. The entire process required the cooperation of hundreds of people, who had to pass tasks down layer by layer until it culminated in the creation of a puppet arm. This was a cultivator's assembly line. Su Jie walked through the production area to the newly built martial practice field behind it, which covered several thousand acres and was dotted with targets of various sizes. No, the budget has already been exceeded. There aren't that many spirit stones for you. Sister Yun, please. Our Zhonghua puppet really needs a modification. You can't just stop us from making improvements. It's a 5th-grade puppet that can match those in the secret realm. We're only a little bit away from success. This isn't the first time you've said this. Every time your success has been just a little bit away. Sister Yun, you have to believe us. This really is the last time. Please put aside your prejudice and seriously consider it with your reason. Just as he had entered, Su Jie heard the heated argument. A man and a woman were facing each other. Zhu Zhangqi, who was hopping mad, and Chen Yun, cold as frost. Chen Yun pursed her lips and looked up at the sky as if she was seriously thinking. After a few seconds, she turned to Zhu Zhangqi. All right, I've just put aside my prejudice and thought it over carefully, and it's still a no. The sect master entrusted the puppet hall's budget to me, not for you to mess around. You need to come up with a practical and reasonable budget. Zhu Zhangqi's expression stiffened until he saw Su Jie. Hall master, look, Sister Yun is being too stingy. We can't even afford to modify our puppets, which are fundamental to our puppet hall. This funding isn't for personal enjoyment. It's entirely for puppet research. Upon seeing Su Jie, Zhu Zhangqi looked as if he had seen his savior, and a look of hope appeared on his previously stifled face as he hurried towards Su Jie in big strides. Is it about the funds again? Su Jie crossed his arms, seeing through Zhu Zhangqi's intentions. Puppet hall was indeed valuable, but it was equally a drain on resources. Hall master, This time, the funds really cannot be approved. The success rate of their modifications is too low and doesn't meet the requirements for funding allocation. Chun Yun also approached, as Su Jie had invited her to manage the fund disbursements in Puppet Hall. You handle it. Su Jie nodded. Before Chun Yun's arrival, Puppet Hall's disciples each let their imaginations run wild, recklessly stacking those fine spiritual materials onto the puppets, causing the budget to grossly overrun. After Chun Yun took over, the funding was effectively controlled over the past 6 months. Controlling the funds was akin to controlling the lifeline of those Puppet Hall disciples, preventing them from being reckless and stacking whatever good materials they desired on the puppets as if spirit stones were blown in by the wind. Seeing Zhu Zhangqi's frustrated expression, as he seemed to want to say something more, Su Jie promptly cut him off. All right, I have seen all the merits of Puppet Hall, but since the funds are limited, you also need to economize. Let me first see the results of your research. What's the completion level of the spider armor puppet prototype? The spider armor puppet Su Jie mentioned was a research task he had assigned to Puppet Hall. Today, Su Jie had come to Puppet Hall because the spider armor puppet prototype had successfully come off the production line, and Su Jie was here to inspect it. Hall Master, please see. This is the result of our research. Zhu Zhangqi set aside his other thoughts and led Su Jie to a warehouse. When the iron door was pushed open, the spacious warehouse was filled with numerous types of puppets. Most of them were various combat puppets developed by the disciples of Puppet Hall, almost as tall as a person, with the tallest not exceeding 5 meters. Then there were rows of rocket artillery, a miraculous weapon during sect wars, for which, later, the sect ordered 500 more, leading to 1,000 units now at Ghost Ridge Palace. If not for the power of the rocket artillery making it a secret weapon of Ghost Ridge Palace, Su Jie's original proposal to export them for profit would have been rejected by the sect, but with these rocket artillery, Su Jie could have made a fortune long ago. Inside the warehouse, apart from various human-like puppets and rocket artillery, the most eye-catching was a peculiarly shaped puppet. Unlike those human-like puppets crafted by the disciples of Puppet Hall, this puppet stood 12 meters tall with 8 significantly noticeable long legs. Its overall design resembled a giant spider, dark in color, with its body covered in steel metal engraved with complex patterns. The 8 robust legs, each equipped with sharp claws, and the head was a hemispherical metal structure fitted with pairs of biocompound eyes. Because it was a prototype, the spider armor puppet appeared round and somewhat bulky, lacking sharp edges, and seemed clumsy without the actual armor and weapons attached. Su Jie stood in front of this massive puppet, stroking his chin as he looked around the special puppet built with the participation of the entire Puppet Hall. Su Jie named it the Spider Armor Puppet, intended not for Tianyuan World, but for Blue Star. The exterior of this puppet appeared to be cast as a single piece of metal, but the interior was completely different. Su Jie climbed onto the back of the spider armor puppet and opened a hatch there. What met his eyes were clusters of squirming flesh, with the veins clearly visible. This was a meat tumor specially cultivated by Su Jie, adjusting the poisonous insects and using the insect transformation manual to foster and graft it to meet his requirements. Although it looked a bit disgusting, this meat tumor was indeed a valuable asset. For instance, the meat tumors inside the spider armor puppet were cultivated by Su Jie specially to possess anti-shock, fireproof, and gas protection effects. Su Jie spent a considerable amount of spirit stones on their cultivation. The most outstanding feature of this type of meat tumor was its powerful regenerative ability, specifically adjusted by Su Jie after numerous trials to perfect it. Has this spider armor puppet undergone any trials? Su Jie turned to look at Zhu Zhangqi, pinning high hopes on this spider armor puppet. Hall Master, we can start the demonstration now. Zhu Zhangqi raised his hand, ran to Su Jie's side and shouted loudly, "Go and show me." Su Jie nodded and watched as Zhu Zhangqi deftly crawled into the top of the spider armor puppet, slid through the hatch, and lay among a mass of writhing meat tumors. The specially cultivated meat tumors, resembling sponges, enveloped Zhu Zhangqi in an instant. Click-clack, click-clack. The 12-meter-tall spider armor puppet slowly came to life as its 8 long legs reached forward. The internal meat tumors replaced the usual power output, allowing it to move with none of the rigidity and stiffness of mechanical beings, like a truly living spider coming to life. Exiting the warehouse door, the long legs of the spider armor puppet bent slightly, and the massive body leaped high like a cannonball, crashing into the middle of the combat arena and precisely striking several targets with its metallic long legs. The targets, solidly built from sturdy iron, were penetrated by the spider's sudden descent from the sky. The sharp hooks on the ends of the metal legs pierced straight through, and the heat from the high-speed impact caused a dazzling spark as metal collided with metal, sending steel fragments jetting out in all directions, the impact noise echoing over several hundred meters. Boom, boom, boom. Following were a series of loud booms as the head of the spider armor puppet emitted massive sound waves, spewing out clumps of white spider silk. These clumps of white spider silk were initially the size of volleyballs, similar to rubber balls, but upon contact with air, the spider silk expanded rapidly, forming a massive sticky web capable of covering thousands of square meters with high adhesive and tensile strength. Birds originally flying overhead were trapped, flapping continuously as their wings were stuck and they fell to the ground. This was an inherent ability of the spider armor puppet, created by the internal meat tumors. During the cultivation of the meat tumors, a large amount of genetic material from the steel bone spider was collected, and its capabilities were preserved as much as possible, allowing the meat tumors to secrete and eject the substance through powerful muscular contractions. This disposable spider silk would retain its stickiness for about an hour, and a single clump could effortlessly suspend tens of tons of steel. Within the territory of the steel bone spider, birds are rare, as its spider silk is the nightmare of many avian species. After demonstrating its attacking capabilities, the spider armor puppet turned its body once more and began to run at high speed, creating a significant amount of noise as its huge body moved. However, in the next moment, the spider armor puppet underwent a transformation. Its 8 long legs started to retract, section by section, like fishing rods, while the upper metal parts were continuously folded by the meat tumors. In an instant, the spider armor puppet shrank to just 4.5 meters tall, with its entire body compacted. At this height, the spider armor puppet moved even more flexibly, with much reduced noise upon landing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With a light leap, the spider armor puppet entered a forest. Its 8 limbs easily pierced into the tree trunks, propelling it through the trees with ease. Despite its previously large size, much of its body used hollow bones, like those of birds, which made it much lighter than it appeared. As the spider armor puppet moved through the trees, its specially designed limbs provided it with ample kinetic energy and the ability to cling. Not only could it move rapidly through the forest, but it could also leap dozens of meters across rivers with ease, and when faced with cliffs, its sharp limb tips could pierce into the rock as easily as a knife cuts through tofu, firmly anchoring itself and climbing swiftly, just like a real spider. In the end, Zhu Zhangqi, operating the spider armor puppet, crashed through several large trees and finally, with a loud bang, collided at high speed with a mountain. When the dust settled, one could see that the spider armor puppet was damaged in several places, metal twisted, and even 2 of its long legs were broken. But these damages did not affect the control of the spider armor puppet. The integrity of the core allowed the spider armor puppet to demonstrate remarkable extreme performance. Even with only 3 legs left, it could still maintain mobility. More importantly, wherever the spider armor puppet was damaged, a continuous supply of blood and mycelium oozed out, autonomously hardening to repair the damaged parts. Even the broken legs saw new meat tumors writhing, gradually solidifying into tough hollow shells and growing new limb-like extensions, replacing the metallic legs. Though there was an impact on speed and defensive capabilities, it was still better than having no legs at all. After the entire demonstration, half an hour had passed. The spider armor puppet returned to Sujia, and with the opening of the hatch on top, Zhu Zhangqi walked out. "Boss, the diesel inside is almost used up. I didn't store much in it. If you need more demonstrations, I'll fill it up." Zhu Zhangqi looked eager to continue. To him, the spider armor puppet designed according to Sujia's plans, although odd for requiring a cultivator to pilot, and with its seemingly inadequate combat abilities compared to humanoid combat puppets, was still thrilling to operate. The special sensory blood vessels in the meat tumors made Zhu Zhangqi feel as if he had truly transformed into a real spider puppet, an addictively novel experience. In fact, the current spider armor puppet was only a basic unit. It had reserved spaces for armor installation and weapon loading systems, which would employ Blue Star's weaponry. Once equipped, the war machine would have a much richer arsenal at its disposal. This power source is the diesel and spiritual liquid hybrid I mentioned? Su Jie patted the spider armor puppet and inquired about the crucial aspect. When Su Jie first brought in a batch of diesel oil, using it as the main energy source was also one of the design indicators for the spider armor puppets. Correct, we have specifically set up a power output system for the spider armor puppets. The diesel engine blueprints you gave us were very ingeniously designed, Hallmaster. We have made some minor modifications to them to match the current state of the spider armor puppets better. Meanwhile, the spiritual liquid serves as an auxiliary power source for backup to mainly ensure the rapid recovery inside the spider armor puppets. Honestly, if we drove them entirely with spirit stones, the power of these spider armor puppets would be even greater. Hall Master, won't you consider it? Zhu Zhangqi gave a brief explanation. The main power of the spider armor puppet primarily relied on diesel, with spiritual liquid as a secondary source. This was also per Su Jie's requirement. When Zhu Zhangqi first got his hands on the product of diesel, he was quite excited, but when comparing it to puppets powered by spirit stone energies, the power was far too lacking, and the energy transmission pathways were particularly simple, absolutely no match for the combat power of puppets driven by spirit stones. After researching for a while, the disciples of Puppet Hall lost interest. Now, only some beginners would use the diesel provided by Su Jie to practice because they couldn't afford to play with puppets driven by spirit stones. There's no need. The diesel is very useful. Su Jie immediately dismissed the suggestion without a second thought. The spider armor puppets prepared by Su Jie were meant for large-scale deployment. If they were all driven by spirit stones as the energy source, the power would increase, but so would the speed of burning through funds exponentially. In comparison to military equipment that was going to be massively retrofitted, Su Jie had to consider the factor of cost-effectiveness. Chan country itself produced oil, and having seized a large number of European and American oil companies and refineries, the cost of oil was particularly low for Su Jie, making it more suitable as the power source for the spider armor puppets. For the sake of cost-effectiveness, Su Jie didn't even implement any formation on the spider armor puppets, as formations consume too many spirit stones. These puppets were intended to be expendable, balancing both cost and performance, and sometimes quantity was more suitable than quality, as the Tiger tanks feared the T-34 tank swarm. Then, Hall Master, does this spider armor puppet meet your requirements? Zhu Zhangqi handed over a piece of paper, on which were listed various performance metrics and standards for the spider armor puppet. All of the design requirements initially set by Su Jie were checked off, including the cost of production, which had not exceeded Su Jie's expectations. This was particularly rare for the normally extravagant and generous Puppet Hall. It's fine. Let's start with manufacturing 100 units of spider armor puppets according to these specifications. Su Jie nodded in satisfaction and casually threw out a number. How many? 100 units. Zhu Zhangqi's expression stiffened. They usually produced no more than a dozen units of a puppet model, but Su Jie's order of hundreds startled him. This was not rocket artillery but genuine real-deal puppets. Although many aspects seemed severely neutered in Zhu Zhangqi's view, requiring cultivators to pilot them personally, they were nevertheless qualified puppets. Producing so many at once seemed excessive. Is it difficult? Zhu Zhangqi shook his head and said, Not a problem, Hall Master. We now have 1,200 disciples in Puppet Hall, and if we're shorthanded, we can recruit additional disciples temporarily. We should be able to complete the production task in about a month. This is just the first batch, and there will be more production tasks in the future. Su Jie patted Zhu Zhangqi's shoulder earnestly and said, Work hard on production. The performance evaluations will be calculated as normal. Yes, Hall Master. I will urge everyone to work hard. Zhu Zhangxi's face bloomed like a chrysanthemum. As long as there were rewards, no one would complain anymore. 100 spider armor puppets, even if it's a bit exhausting, at least they were getting paid. It was far better than adventuring in Insect Valley to capture bugs, where there was a risk to life, and nowhere near the favorable conditions provided by the puppet hall. Su Jie removed his gaze from the spider armor puppet and asked, "Aside from the spider armor puppets, what's the production progress on the prototype ship Lanhai No. 1? We've just laid the foundation, Hall Master. Come with me." Zhu Zhangxi's face showed a trace of excitement as he led Su Jie to a lake nearby. This lake, located near the mountain gate of Ghost Ridge Palace, was bustling with over 500 disciples from the puppet hall, all busily working. Next to the lake, a massive dock had been excavated. The dock, stretching an astonishing 600 meters, cradled within it the steel skeleton of a titanic beast over 400 meters long. It was evident that this was a giant warship under construction. This warship was the very one Su Jie had planned, specifically designed for sea battles on Blue Star. In the past 6 months, under Su Jie's guidance, the Puppet Hall disciples had held continuous seminars and had finally completed the design a month ago. They then began the construction of the warship at the fastest speed possible. Once built according to the planned design, it would be an enormous vessel with a displacement of 150,000 tons. In the past, Ghost Ridge Palace had never built such a product until Su Jie issued the research directive. The yet-to-be-completed warship was currently named Lanhai No. 1. Its shell and skeleton were primarily made of a metal mixed with deep-sea luminous stone. When the sun shone upon it, the ship emanated a shimmering blue light, resembling a vast expanse of azure ocean. As the Guanchao Pavilion's war spoils captured by Su Jie were abundant, this type of deep-sea luminous stone, being a widely used spiritual material within the pavilion, offered commendable defensive properties, adaptability to water pressure, and remarkable resistance to fire. High temperatures from destruction would not easily damage it, though it was quite challenging to process. Su Jie had also purchased a considerable amount of deep-sea luminous stone from the sect. The production cost of this warship was an astoundingly high figure according to the budget. Even Su Jie winced at the expense, considering just the hull, not including the various weapons and power sources to come. But Su Jie still invested a massive amount of resources, sick of the maritime blockade led by the beautiful country at the forefront of the 8-nation group. Jekka Group must have its own warships, not those small escort vessels of a mere 1,000 tons, but one that could exert strategic deterrence across the vast oceans. Lanhai No. 1, as envisioned by Su Jie, would shoulder this responsibility. Many of its design specifications appeared unimaginable in the eyes of Blue Star humans. The shoddy shipyards of Chan country would find the task impossible to complete. Only in the Tianyuan world, with the intervention of the miraculous energy known as spiritual power, and by utilizing spiritual materials, setting up spirit arrays, and combining the efforts of the Puppet Hall, was there hope for its completion. Actually, even for the Puppet Hall to complete it was extremely difficult, as they had never built anything so grand. The construction process was destined to face many challenges. Many of the key technologies involved were replicated from the flying magical boat, otherwise the Puppet Hall would be utterly clueless. I wonder how shocking it will be on the day it's finished. It's a pity it can't fly. Zhu Zhangxi sighed, but his eyes held not regret, but boundless ambition. Fumbling along, let's first apply and digest some of the flying magical boat's technology on this warship. Once we've mastered it, we'll certainly be able to build our very own flying magical boat.
Suyepatet Zhu Zhangui's holder.
This was how Su Jie motivated the members of the Puppet Hall, and also how he managed to appease the high ranks of the sect. If we could build a flying magical boat, Zhu Zhangxi's eyes sparkled with excitement, as if he could already see the prestige the Puppet Hall would gain within the sect once they built their own flying magical boat, earning a thumbs up from everyone. Su Jie smiled without speaking. He had issued dozens of research tasks to the Puppet Hall, with Lanhai No. 1 and the Spider Armor Puppet being just 2 of the projects. Others were still in the design phase, some not yet taking form, all requiring more time to develop. With the beautiful country stirring up trouble with the 8-nation group on Blue Star, Su Jie planned to go back and take a look. The research conducted by the Puppet Hall would become Chan Country's support and foundation. Blue Star Zen Country, East Chin State. Today was a festive day for Chan Country, as the first underground railway train service in the country, known as the Ruakai Railway, officially began its trial operation. The Ruakai Railway started from the Chan Country capital, Yang City, passing through multiple cities and crossing the largest mountain range in Chan Country, the Ruakai Mountains, before arriving at Mande City. It was a part of the entire underground arterial network of Chan Country, and also the first segment that was initiated. Constructed in cooperation by JECA Group and several heavyweight construction bureaus from Hua Country. The construction mania's nature took root and blossomed on the land of Chan Country, propelling the progress at a breakneck pace. For this trial operation, many high-level executives from JECA Group and elites from all walks of life were invited to ride. The significance of the Ruakai Railway was monumental, as it not only represented a further increase in JECA Group's control over the entire Chan Country, both in terms of the enhancement of commercial transport capacity and the dispatch of military forces, it had a significant amplifying effect. Especially for the latter, since much of the territory within Chan Country was covered with dense forests and mountains, ground troop movement was exceedingly difficult. Train transportation, however, could pass through countless valleys and mountains, allowing troops and heavy weapons to be quickly transported. Yang City was home to millions of people and was the economic center of Chan Country, while Mande City served as the political and military center where JECA Group was based. The connection of this underground railway had an extraordinary significance. Around the whole of Chan Country, there were several other similar underground transport arteries simultaneously under construction. Once all were completed, JECA Group would be able to extend its reach to every aspect of Chan Country, and any disturbance could be met with rapid deployment of the army. The trial run train, numbered K2032, also bore the evident traces of Hua Country's manufacturing. In the business class carriages, a group of dignitaries, who were on the first trial operation, sat chatting leisurely while observing the scenery passing by outside the train, like Mr. Smith and Mr. Shang. The former was the chairman of a commercial company in Yang City, with business operations ranging from real estate and garment factories to motorbike manufacturing, a well-known tycoon. The latter was Mr. Smith's secretary, having just been successfully recruited by him. In an unnoticed corner, Shang observed the scenery speeding by outside the train. Since they were underground, aside from the dim lights, most of it was indistinct. However, Shang noticed numerous apparent military installations in this underground train tunnel. In some places there were guard posts constructed, some seemed to be machine gun emplacements not yet fully dismantled, and the dugout military blast doors on both sides, leading who knows where, let alone what arms and ammunition might be stored inside. Smith, how much do you know about these underground military passages and bases? Shang moved away from the crowd to sit alone with Smith. Even though he was a secretary, he spoke to his boss Smith with a tone of superior giving orders to a subordinate. I don't know. Upon hearing this, Smith shook his head, providing no answer. Frowning, Shang said, "You've worked in Chan Country for so long and you don't have any reliable information?" There was a hint of reproach in Shuang's eyes. Being businessmen was only their cover identity. In reality, outside of his commercial activities, Smith also worked for the CIA, collecting open-source intelligence. Shang was the same. Officially a secretary, in actuality, he was the new CIA chief sent in secret to Chan Country to monitor JECA Group for the CIA. Facing his superior Shuang's questioning, Smith could only give a wry smile. Boss Shang, JECA Group's counterintelligence and anti-espionage capabilities are formidable. Don't treat them like any ordinary foe. Many of our intelligence operatives have disappeared without a trace, persecuted by JECA Group. While speaking, Smith gestured towards the outside of the carriage and said with a grave voice, "Underground tunnels like this, no one knows how many there are throughout Chan Country. JECA Group has mastered advanced underground excavation technology. During the Civil War in Chan Country, they used these underground military bases to conceal and deploy troops, leading us to misjudge their strategy. recklessly advancing into the Ruakai Mountains and suffering a staggering defeat. Satellite reconnaissance from above couldn't detect it, and now JECA Group has opened some of these underground passages for civilian use. As for the underground military bases and tunnels they haven't disclosed, we have no idea how many there are. These underground military bases are top secret within JECA Group, and the data we currently have is very scant. In the whole of Chan country, JECA Group has a tight lock on intelligence due to the substantial loyalty of the Chan country people for the generous treatment they receive from JECA Group, plus the $500,000 reward for reporting espionage. Many of our informants on the outside have been caught, making intelligence work here far more difficult than in the Middle East or Africa. Shuang's brow creased slightly. He had just arrived to take over the intelligence work of the CIA in Chan country, and although he had some understanding before taking office, he was still somewhat surprised to hear this from the long-entrenched CIA operative, Smith. After some thought, Shuang whimsically asked, "About JECA Group's underground excavation machines, do you guys have any leads? Our beautiful country must possess this technology." Spreading his hands, Smith replied helplessly, "No. Logically speaking, such underground excavators should be very noisy when operating. Yet even with some underground detection equipment, we haven't found any trace of them, including the information from JECA Group's middle-level staff we bribed." Shuang pondered, and as he thought, the train began to climb, with a light appearing ahead. After a long climb, everyone felt the brightness in front of them as the train emerged from the underground and appeared on the outskirts of a city. That was Monday City, the core stronghold of JECA Group. Of course, to a CIA agent like Shuang, this was a den of evil that disrupted international order and needed to be eradicated. As for this international order, it was, of course, the international order maintained under the aegis of the beautiful country. And the emergence of the JECA Group was challenging this order. Whether it was JECA Group's muddy truck trade wars or its multiple military defeats of the armed forces supported by the beautiful country. Together with the massive interests represented by the JECA Group itself, all sorts of biotechnologies and medical technologies were intolerable to the beautiful country. As the dominator of Blue Star, for a small organization to control such a large piece of the pie without willing to share and pay tribute to the dominator, delighting in its own monopoly, disregarding the beautiful country entirely, do you not understand what capitalism and the big stick of freedom and democracy are? My beautiful country is indeed the dominator of Blue Star, a financial vacuum in US dollars, a military hegemon imposing its will across Blue Star, with influence penetrating every aspect of Blue Star. Yet, the JECA Group really was a stubborn child, always butting heads with the beautiful country. And the stubborn one was surprisingly strong in combat. The beautiful country hadn't managed to subdue them, but instead had been humiliated by them in the international community. An evil organization, breeding an evil nation, will be sanctioned and destroyed one day. Shuang looked at this city, which had appeared numerous times in intelligence reports, feeling not only overwhelming pressure but also full motivation. Because the task was formidable, once he succeeded, owning a vast amount of crucial intelligence on JECA Group, heralding the downfall of JECA Group, he might even ascend to the director's seat in the future. The train kept moving, and Shuang's gaze swept across, seeing construction sites everywhere. Skyscrapers rising from the ground, paved asphalt roads, bridges spanning rivers, and vast insect farms. Countless workers were busy at these sites, seen from afar on the train as if thousands of ants were building their nest, bit by bit transforming this barren land into a modern metropolis. All these are Hua country's construction companies? Shuang saw the various signs like China Construction Second Bureau, China Construction Third Bureau, and others at these sites, which inexplicably ignited a fire in his heart. You should know, the JECA Group is the most wanted target for elimination by the beautiful country because they consistently irritate the beautiful country, like an indestructible cockroach always provoking and skipping around before our eyes, which truly disturbs and frustrates the beautiful country. And Hua country, separated by a Pacific Ocean, currently the real world's factory, is also one of the enemies of the beautiful country. With its strong industrial power and population, ancient cultural heritage, and the status of the world's second-largest economy, it too challenges the global hegemony of the beautiful country. threatening the international order led by the beautiful country. Now, these two countries cooperating so closely, the two most detested enemies banding together, naturally made Shang feel uneasy and annoyed. Boss, since over half a year ago, our beautiful country, along with Europe and America, initiated sanctions against Jekka Group. Jekka Group quickly strengthened its cooperation with Maubert and Hua Country. Especially with Hua Country, the two countries are just too close. Whenever we impose sanctions, they immediately respond. They are the world's factory. Most of the goods banned in the sanctions against Jekka Group can find substitutes in Hua Country. Smith shook his head, having a deep understanding of Jekka Group. The sanctions imposed by the beautiful country on Jekka Group didn't exactly have no impact, but they were essentially ineffective. Even though the sanction document was extensive, containing 6,318 items, including Jekka Group's cat on the sanction list, Jekka Group was still able to develop methodically, becoming a huge thorn in the side of the beautiful country. Shang remained silent. The beautiful country could control the heavens, the earth, and the air, but it could not control Jekka Group or reach Hua Country. Absolutely colluding in disgrace. Shang clenched his fists, cursing the despicable Jekka Group and the despicable people of Hua Country. At that moment, Shang conveniently ignored the fact that the beautiful country had formed the Eight-Nation Group to impose sanctions and suppress Jekka Group. Smith stayed silent, rolling his eyes stealthily and continuously cursing in his heart. Our country is already coercing and sanctioning Jekka Group to this extent. It would indeed be odd if these two don't come together. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This saying works everywhere. The train kept moving until it eventually entered the station in Monday City. As the train whistle blew longer, it gradually slowed down and finally came to a stop. The carriage door opened, and Shang, along with Smith, gathered their thoughts and followed the other passengers out. At the very front of the crowd, Shang even saw one of Chan Country's high-ranking officials, an excessively young woman named Lu Yingying. As they flowed out of the carriage, Shang suddenly stopped short, because the train station was practically under semi-martial law, with many tight security checks appearing inside. This is, following the excited gazes of the dignitaries, the figure of a young man came into view. He looked to be in his 20s, sporting a gentle smile that bestowed a personable charm, seemingly without any airs about him. But Shang couldn't forget this man. Although it was his first time seeing him in person, he had viewed that face back and forth countless times through photographs. For this person was none other than the founder of Jekka Group, the real controller behind it, and also the top terrorist listed on Beautiful Country Sanctions list, far surpassing the infamous Uncle Layden. Su Jie, he's also making an appearance here. Shang took a deep breath, suddenly feeling a piercingly sharp and dangerous gaze fixing on him. The glare filled with killing intent made his scalp numb. Even though he was a well-trained agent, such an intense stare felt terrifying, as if he could be torn apart at any moment. Subtly turning his head, Shang saw two towering figures alongside Su Jie. Dressed in over 3 meters tall biological armor, their bodies entirely encased in metal resembling walking alloy cans, yet their sharp external weapons, high-powered machine guns, rocket launchers, single-soldier anti-tank missiles, and more, transformed them into walking artillery platforms. With just a glance, Shang recognized these two Iron Cans' identities. Steel Camp genetic soldiers who had become famous during the Civil War in Chan Country with a terrifying record of leading super soldiers and the Mountain Brigade, fewer than 10,000 strong, to decimate an army of modern soldiers over 100,000 strong. They were the foremost special single-soldier force in the world. Shang, pretending to be unconcerned, averted his gaze, not daring to continue staring at them for long. The opposing genetic soldier withdrew his gaze, standing like a protector god, safeguarding leader Su Jie within their midst. Those eyes are simply too terrifying, almost inhumane. Visibly shaken, Shang, seeing the genetic soldiers firsthand, felt an overwhelming pressure, his elite agent skills leaving him sweating profusely, far worse than what images and written materials had suggested. Shang had no doubts that if he made any assassination moves, he might be reduced to a sieve by the opposing Steel Camp genetic soldier before even drawing his weapon. Their gaze was like a human facing off against predators like lions or even more daunting beasts. For the first time, Shang felt a twinge of concern about the territory he was about to manage. I am up against such inhumane beings. If they were to discover me, surviving wouldn't be the concern anymore, rather whether I could even leave a complete corpse. It's said that many soldiers who fought against the Steel Camp were often not found intact. Their biological armor's heavy weapons were massively overpowered against the human flesh and blood. Shang felt ashamed of the slight panic that had arisen in his heart, considering himself a top CIA agent who had seen all sorts of grand scenes. Yet he was startled by one of Su Jie's bodyguards. With that thought, Shang looked up again and saw the lively scene ahead. Mr. Su, Mr. Su. Mr. Su, please sign an autograph for me. Mr. Su, I love you. When Su Jie appeared at the train station, the passengers who were preparing for the first train suddenly showed excited and joyful expressions, swarming around him as if zombies had been let loose. Especially the girls, whose eyes lit up at the sight of Su Jie. Su Jie was still unmarried, and a fairy tale encounter with a prince was simply the best fantasy in many girls' hearts. Everyone, don't push, be careful not to hurt yourselves. Su Jie patted the guard's shoulder, moved past the human wall the guards had formed, and stepped forward to shake hands and take photos with some of the people, appearing very approachable. This behavior attracted even more people, drawing a larger crowd. As a sudden hero of Chan country, Su Jie single-handedly ended decades of warlord chaos in Chan country. And, with strong military power and personal prestige, he recreated a new Chan country. With better living conditions, Su Jie's image among the people of Chan country was towering and majestic, truly Chan country's #1 idol, the pinnacle of all influencers. This guy is really popular, Shang thought to himself, understanding why. In a sense, Su Jie was considered a founding leader, and it was well known that the prestige of founding leaders is immensely high. After parting with the crowd, Su Jie exchanged pleasantries with the dignitaries who had arrived by train for a few minutes, then walked toward Shuang's direction. To be precise, he approached Smith, who was standing next to him. You must be Mr. Smith. I've heard you're doing big business in Yang City. Our Chan country government encourages orderly commercial practices. If Mr. Smith encounters any difficulties, he can also come to us for solutions. Su Jie extended his right hand, and Smith quickly clasped it with both hands, his face displaying obsequious respect. Mr. Su, in front of you, what I do is just small business, hardly worth mentioning. Personally, I think Chan country's business environment is very good. Recently, the central bank even provided us with a batch of loans. Among all the countries I've visited, the treatment for businessmen is the best here. Maintaining the persona of a businessman, Smith's face was brimming with enthusiasm, completely concealing his inner thoughts. To ordinary people, it would hardly be known that this well-known tycoon from Yang City was actually working as a covert agent for the CIA. After all, conventional wisdom suggests that with ample wealth, why would anyone engage in the dangerous work of a spy? This doesn't make sense. It was this kind of cognitive inertia that naturally added a layer of concealment to Smith's identity. Inside, Smith was far from calm, as the two Steel Camp genetic soldiers vigilantly watched him, placing great psychological pressure on him. Su Jie, for his part, had directly or indirectly killed countless CIA agents. From the smuggling wars in Mexico to the civil war in Chan country, one could say Su Jie's hands were drenched with the blood and tears of the CIA, truly a figure like a butcher. On his face, Su Jie wore a gentle smile, appearing very approachable, hardly the ruthless killer Smith had imagined. Well, that's good to hear. Recently, leading with the beautiful country, the Western society has sanctioned our import of machinery and production equipment. Your company produces motorcycles, so you could come to the commercial department here in Chan country. We have business cooperation at the level with Hua country, and we can provide you with connections for motorcycle production lines and related technology in Hua country. Upon hearing Su Jie's words, Smith's lips twitched slightly. Having one archenemy introduce another archenemy's business felt utterly bizarre. But to avoid blowing his cover, Smith could only nod repeatedly, That would be more than great. I've been worrying about this lately. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Su. Thank what? Just run your business well. Grow it larger. More tax revenue for the Chan country government is the best thanks to me. Su Jie smiled and nodded, then continued past Smith. Phew. After Su Jie left, the crowd also dispersed, and both Smith and Shang breathed a sigh of relief simultaneously. I handled that correctly just now, right? Don't let him suspect anything. Smith felt somewhat uneasy, too aware of Su Jie's power and influence in Chan country. If exposed, he would certainly have nowhere to bury himself. Shang, with a hint of irony in his eyes, shook his head. He obviously didn't notice anything. Relax. Your disguise was very good. He won't find our true identities. Meanwhile, shortly after leaving the station and getting into an armored car, Lu Yingying curiously said, Su Jie, shouldn't we keep tighter control over those two CIA agents? Leaning back in his seat with his eyes closed, Su Jie opened his eyes and spoke lightly. No need to alert them prematurely. Keeping Smith can provide us with more intelligence. An exposed spy is much more useful alive than dead. Humph. These CIA pests are relentless against our Jekka group, always trying to probe our secrets. Lu Yingying, clutching Su Jie's arm, spoke in annoyance. It's inevitable, the interests we represent are so significant, and with the nature of the beautiful country, how could they not want a piece of the action, or even to eliminate us and take the cake for themselves? As Su Jie stroked Lu Yingying's smooth black hair, he said with a deep gaze, I've heard that the beautiful country has been quite restless lately. They're the same as ever, imposing economic sanctions on us on one hand, while signing a military aid agreement with Siam on the other, arming the Siamese army to a large extent. At the same time, with the beautiful country itself entering the fray, each member of the Eight-Nation Group has dispatched uneven forces into Siam, under the pretext of containing the military expansion of extremist organizations, but it's clear they are guarding against us. Lu Yingying snorted, used to the beautiful country's maneuvers, bringing a bunch of lackeys to trouble the Jekka group. Previously it was the beautiful country threatening the Jekka group, but this time it seemed more like a warning to the Jekka group not to beat up their little brother Siam. What specifically? Everything from fighter jets and armored units to rifles and helmets. A lot of weapons were provided as aid, and they're also heavily fortifying the border, digging out many permanent military fortresses and trenches. Lu Yingying took out a document listing the publicly disclosed aid weapons from the beautiful country. From the F-35 stealth fighter, V-22 Osprey transport plane, M1A2 main battle tank, M1283 armored personnel carrier, Hamas rocket artillery, Apache armed helicopter, and so on, to heavy equipment. To rifles, bulletproof vests, drones, landmines, rocket launchers, military tents, military rations, and construction materials for military use, and so on. Including countless large and small projects, there were at least 200 military items covering all aspects. Siam must have been scared by us, willing to spend a huge cost to borrow money from the beautiful country to purchase a large amount of military hardware, and also frantically expanding its own army, using wealth to wield military power. In just half a year's time, they increased their army from 300,000 to 600,000, doubling in number, and allowed the Eight-Nation Group to station troops on their land. Their king says our Jekka group is a terrorist organization, and has called for the entire country to confront our threat. However, most of the other countries' stationed troops are just going through the motions. The least have only a few hundred people, and the most only a few thousand. The beautiful country and Japan have more stationed troops. The former has 3,000 people staying in Siam, while the latter has a force of 5,000 in Siam. As Lu Yingying spoke, she took out a tablet and opened a saved video. It showed news of the Siam King and the Prime Minister's speech, targeting the Jekka group. This is their news TV speech from 3 days ago, portraying our Jekka group as if we're the bad guys. Lu Yingying pursed her lips, placing the tablet in front of Su Jie. The Jekka group, an evil and extreme organization disguising itself as a nation, at its core is violence, expansion, dictatorship, and a terror force against humanity, constantly threatening global stability and security. As a Southeast Asian nation that loves peace, Siam urges all members of the United Nations Security Council to stay vigilant against the Jekka group, to contain and strike against this new type of extremist organization. As king, I personally call upon all the people of Siam to awaken and resist the military expansion and intimidation of the Jekka group, and to reinforce the alert status of our national army garrisons and bases. After watching the speech, Su Jie was somewhat speechless. 600,000 troops, have they gone mad in Siam? Why muster so many soldiers to deal with our threat? And when have we ever threatened them? Upon hearing this, Lu Yingying gave Su Jie a sidelong glance and said, "You've forgotten about the Jiangxi 2 frigate incident. That time we deployed troops on the Siam border caused a huge commotion within the higher echelons of Siam. Although in the end Siam returned our frigate and compensated us with $1 billion, the domestic media in Siam later massively publicized this incident, claiming our Jekka group militarily extorted Siam and they would never allow such a thing to happen again. At the time, many cities within Siam saw public demonstrations, which even led to the Prime Minister stepping down and being replaced, and then the new government labeled our Jekka group as the primary enemy." Su Jie thought back carefully, and it indeed seemed like such an incident had occurred. Most likely, the beautiful country had a hand in it again. They need a neighboring country hostile to us. Su Jie scratched his head, but didn't think he had done anything wrong. After pondering, he came to a conclusion. Siam's authorities would surely want to cover up such an embarrassing incident as much as possible. The result was a domestic uproar, with possible involvement from the beautiful country behind the scenes, wishing to increase domestic hostility towards the Jekka group in Siam. Including the change of leadership, the beautiful country would love to see a leadership that is even more hostile towards the Jekka group. Although Su Jie had no evidence of beautiful country's interference, based on his understanding of their integrity, they definitely were prime suspects. In the realm of stirring up trouble, as the prodigal sons of the great British Empire, the beautiful country had inherited this fine tradition and had continued to carry it forward splendidly. Anyway, now Siam is always accusing us of threatening them militarily, claiming we're going to deploy 500 Tiger main battle mechas and launch a lightning war against them. That's why they're strenuously developing their military, treating us like bandits, as if we might barge into their home to rob them at any moment. Lu Yingying complained a couple of times, and Su Jie couldn't help but chuckle, amused by her remarks. No, really, do they believe that? There is no such thing as a Tiger main battle mecha. Su Jie grinned. The so-called Tiger main battle mecha was nothing but the thousand-handed centipede in disguise during a military parade. Catching shadows and chasing the wind, Siam took something that didn't even have a shadow and treated it as real. But then again, the published data of the hypothetical Tiger main battle mecha was rather terrifying, 38.9 meters in height, weighing 1635 tons, fitted with a multi-weapon system for both ground and aerial combat, capable of all-weather operations. At first glance, one would think that the Jekka group had developed some sort of super-advanced black technology. With the precedent of super soldiers, genetic warriors, biological armors, it's not surprising that they believed it might be true. Ah, isn't that the large mecha we're currently researching and planning to equip? Lu Yingying blinked, looking bewildered. We don't have that thing. Su Jie turned his head and just caught Lu Yingying's dazed gaze. Really, we don't? Lu Yingying was shocked. She really thought Su Jie had developed the Tiger main battle mecha, but now he was telling her they hadn't. Within the Jekka group, Su Jie focused on the military aspect, which she wasn't very familiar with. Plus, Su Jie often pulled off mysterious black tech, and even as a high-level executive of the Jekka group, she'd been fooled. Or rather, because the thousand-handed centipede's performance during the parade was so convincing, both Chan country and many others around the world believed in the existence of the Tiger main battle mecha. After that parade, how many headlines did the Tiger main battle mecha make, with military experts on TV debates tearing apart the theories of mecha uselessness and mecha dominance, causing a mecha craze worldwide, with numerous countries investing heavily into mecha research eagerly. Chan country people traveling abroad would look down on others when this matter was mentioned. The world's first military large-scale mecha. Have you seen it? Are you scared? Even the beautiful country, #1 in global military, didn't have mechas, but we in Chan country were the first to equip them, leading the world, a true case of asymmetric warfare. Really, we don't. Su Jie couldn't help but laugh and cry. He pinched Lu Yingying's cheek. If even their own were fooled, it proved that his military deception had been quite successful. Lu Yingying was speechless. So it was a hoax. Anyway, it seems that we might have gone a bit too far before. We've kind of scared Siam. Su Jie stroked his chin, thinking back on the civil war period within Chan country. How the Jekka group had displayed its combat power, crushing all the warlords and Chan country government army, and even the Japan Self-Defense Force. In the end, even the airborne corps of the beautiful country at Yang City Airport lacked the courage to engage with the Jekka group and fled in a sorry state. All signs indicated the Jekka group was indeed full of martial virtue. And Siam, despite its great wealth, boasting a GDP of over $500 billion annually, had a pitifully weak military capability. Yet it bordered Chan country with only 1/10 of its GDP. It was like a well-jeweled lady living next door to a vicious villain who couldn't even afford a full meal. No wonder Siam was afraid. Anyway, that's how Siam saw it. From the multiple acts of war by the Jekka group, it was clear they were viewed as warmongers. The upper echelons of Siam were scared to death, and of course they had to desperately increase their military strength. The car proceeded and arrived at the largest hospital in Mande City. This hospital, newly built by Jekka Group, spanned an area of 150,000 square meters. The convoy arrived here. Su Jie and Lu Yingying stepped out of the limousine, and under the protection of a group of security guards, entered the hospital. Mr. Su, the hospital's dean, Pu Ding, hurried over. He was not only the dean of the hospital but also an employee of Jekka Group. How is the trial going? No problems with the clinical tests, I hope. Su Jie asked succinctly, inquiring about the other party. Everything is just as you said, Mr. Su. The effectiveness is miraculous. I'll take you to see it now. Pu Ding answered, his face displaying his excitement. A group of people reached the 3rd floor, where Pu Ding took the lead in pushing open a ward door and went in. Inside the ward were a dozen men and women, wearing patient attire, who looked no different from ordinary people. These people were of various ethnic backgrounds, from Europe and America, Asia, and Latin America. Dean Pu, you've arrived. Dean Pu, I have lost another 10 kilograms. I've never felt so light before. It's like I've come back to life. The patients in the ward greeted Pu Ding with smiles, thanking him for his help. These people seem quite normal. Do they have some kind of internal disease? Outside the ward, Lu Yingying asked curiously, still unclear about what was happening, as she had been brought here by Su Jie. They suffer from an extremely severe obesity condition. Over a month ago, each of them weighed over 600 or 700 pounds. Su Jie said with a smile, describing the condition of these people. What? That's impossible. Lu Yingying's mouth dropped open, and she looked back at the people in the ward subconsciously. Even the heaviest of them weighed only around 150 to 160 pounds, with the lightest around 100 pounds. It seemed impossible that people could lose weight that fast. Mr. Su is correct. Miss Lu, you can look at their photos from a month ago. Pu Ding came out of the room, bringing the patients with him, and handed a stack of photos to Lu Yingying. As she flipped through the photos, Lu Yingying saw images of very overweight men and women, each with their detailed data recorded below. Many weighed several hundred pounds, so heavy that their necks were nearly invisible under layers of fat. Lu Yingying looked up unbelievingly, and when she looked at the patients again, they seemed completely different in size and temperament due to the drastic weight loss. But she could still discern a similarity in their facial structures to those in the photos, indicating that the people in the photos were indeed the same ones before their successful weight loss. Beneath these photos was written the origin of these people, all of them among the most famous cases of obesity in their respective countries, including a person who held the Guinness World Record for highest body weight, weighing over 1,000 pounds. Mr. Su, you were right. I really can lose weight, I truly have. Tianyuan slimming pills are truly miraculous, just like divine medicine bestowed by God. I was a bit skeptical before I came, but I've been proven narrow-minded. I still feel like I'm dreaming. The feeling of being so light after losing weight is just amazing. The patients, upon seeing Su Jie, had expressions overflowing with gratitude. They all knew that it was Su Jie who was the true benefactor behind their rapid weight loss. One of the patients, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman in her 30s, spoke while wiping away tears. "Mr. Su, thank you. I'm so grateful to you. You've allowed me to re-experience what standing up feels like." Her name was Rosalie Bradford. She had once been awarded the title of the heaviest person in the world in the Guinness World Records. By the age of 13, she weighed 170 kilograms, and at her heaviest, she topped 500 kilograms, over 1,000 pounds, which caused her leg muscles to be unable to support her body weight. She had been bedridden for 8 years and had even publicly sought help through television for a miracle cure for her obesity, attracting a lot of attention. Unfortunately, her physical condition was so unusual that the obesity left many hospitals and experts unable to help. Many treatments had been unsuccessful. Rosalie herself had started to feel hopeless. She was one of the first patients to come to Monday City Hospital for treatment. Over 3 months ago, she received news that JECA Group had approached her with an offer to treat her obesity for free. At first, she thought it was a scam, but after verifications by her parents, they confirmed that the others were indeed employees of JECA Group. Once the message was confirmed, Rosalie accepted the offer without a second thought. She had heard of JECA Group's renowned name, even from her bed. Their products, like Tianyuan Hair Growth Liquid and Tianyuan Myopia Pills, were famous around the world for their efficacy, and her condition was deteriorating by the day. Her extreme weight led to numerous ailments, and JECA Group, a globally famed company, was offering to treat her free of charge. There was no way they could be trying to deceive her, so she crossed the ocean to the JECA company's hospital in Monday City. When she first entered the ward, her size was too large to pass through the door. They had to dismantle a wall for her to enter smoothly. In the 3+ months that followed, she had been actively cooperating with the treatment. The treatment here was simple. Just swallow a few pills each day and then drink water, a lot of it until she couldn't take any more. This weight loss method confused Rosalie at first, but by the second day, her weight had begun to decrease. As she continued taking more pills, her weight loss became more and more noticeable. In just over 3 months, within 100 days, she had lost weight to her current state, able to stand on her feet again, capable of running and jumping. Now, she was just a girl weighing 100 pounds with a perfectly proportioned figure, golden short hair, not particularly beautiful but quite delicate in appearance, showing no signs of having been a patient with obesity, weighing over 1,000 pounds just 50 days ago. Furthermore, throughout this weight loss process, she didn't suffer at all. It was just about taking medicine and drinking water that reduced her weight. After losing weight, her skin was firm and taut, without any of the usual problems related to skin laxity that severe overweight patients or liposuction surgeries tend to cause. Like Rosalie, most of the patients here had similar experiences. The obesity issues that had plagued them were all resolved at Monday City Hospital. Don't take it lightly. Remember to control your diet in the future. Tianyuan slimming pills can't guarantee the weight won't rebound. The pills can only treat your fat, not the diseases caused by obesity, so don't rely on them to act carelessly. Su Jie cautioned as he ruffled Rosalie's head, and he also advised the others. The Tianyuan slimming pills Su Jie mentioned were naturally the result of research commissioned by Su Jie and carried out by his Alchemy Pavilion disciples. At the beginning, Su Jie set 3 research directions: myopia, weight loss, and whitening. The slimming elixir was breached more than 3 months ago, and Su Jie immediately brought it to Blue Star for further validation. The results did not disappoint him. The slimming medicine produced by Tianyuan World not only had especially strong effectiveness in weight loss but also had no side effects. Yes, we will definitely take good care of our bodies," promised Rosalie, nodding repeatedly. Now to these patients, Su Jie was like a god, and the Tianyuan slimming pills were like a divine medicine bestowed by God. Otherwise, how could they have such miraculous effects? After parting with the patients, Su Jie, Pu Ding, and Lu Yingying sat in a conference room together. "Have all the tasks I assigned been completed?" Su Jie asked. "We've filmed all the patients' records, and they're willing to cooperate with us for promotion. Our Tianyuan slimming pills will surely be a success," Pu Ding spoke up. These patients were the heaviest from various countries, including the heaviest person recorded in the Guinness World Records, which was simply the best promotional material. With successful treatment examples of severely obese patients like Rosali, the Tianyuan slimming pills were destined to become an instant success upon entering the market. Su Jie nodded, satisfied, and turned his gaze to Lu Yingying nearby. I'll follow up on this end as well, leveraging the group's power to push Tianyuan slimming pills into the market and promote it with all our might. Lu Yingying's eyes sparkled with excitement, for the market potential for the Tianyuan slimming pills was truly vast. According to statistics from the World Health Organization, 1 in 8 people in the world suffers from obesity, adding up to more than 1 billion overweight individuals worldwide. A colossal market that could rival Tianyuan hair growth liquid and Tianyuan myopia pills, or even surpass them in terms of medical benefits. After all, hair loss only affects one's looks, and myopia can be compensated with glasses. But excessive obesity impacts every aspect of life. If there were a truly effective slimming medication with no side effects, people would undoubtedly snatch it up. After all, who doesn't want to have a normal figure? The slimming pills are too potent. Dilute them and then separate them into smaller portions for distribution. Su Jie, stroking his chin, said to Lu Yingying, after we start production, each slimming pill will reduce 1 gene of fat, and the cost is about $3. What do you think would be an appropriate price? Lu Yingying and Pu Ding both became tangled in thought, and after some deliberation, it was Pu Ding who spoke first. The global number of obesity patients is staggering. If we want to make it affordable for the masses, the price can't be too high, otherwise most people won't be able to afford it. I think selling each Tianyuan slimming pill for $50 would be reasonable. The usual weight loss goal for people is in the tens of gene, so a one-time purchase would cost only a few $1,000s, which should be affordable enough. No, that's too cheap. Lu Yingying immediately spoke up, looking quite money-hungry, and said to Su Jie, we now control the entire Chan country, and there's infrastructure development and huge growth everywhere in the nation. This is the time when we need funds. Relying solely on Tianyuan hair growth liquid and Tianyuan myopia pills is getting tight. We must depend on Tianyuan slimming pills to earn enough money to develop JECA Group better. Therefore, I think selling a slimming pill for $500 would be more appropriate. That price is too high if ordinary people decide to lose 20 gene. They would need to spend $10,000, which many can't afford, nor are necessarily willing to spend. Pu Ding felt it was inappropriate. The price set by Lu Yingying was a bit too much. Our Tianyuan slimming pills can be bought individually. If one doesn't have enough money, they buy fewer pills. If one has more, they buy more. If they find it expensive, people can just lose weight on their own. Expecting something cheap without putting in effort, there's no such thing in the world, and we at JECA Group aren't running a charity. Lu Yingying argued back. JECA Group was in need of a capital injection, and maintaining a country required a lot of money. She was in charge of JECA Group's finances and naturally wanted to earn a more substantial amount of money. Finally, Su Jie tapped his fingers on the table and said, let's meet halfway, and set the price of each Tianyuan slimming pill at $300. At the price of $300 based on the wages in Europe and America, if they didn't spend their salary on other things, they could easily buy 10 Tianyuan slimming pills a month, which in Su Jie's view was already a bargain. The average person's weight loss needs are mostly in the tens of gene, so their consumption was definitely affordable. In considering this, Su Jie took into account that most ordinary people in Europe and America don't have much savings, but never mind, if they don't have savings they can take out loans, as he was not going to sell too cheaply, even though his own production cost was very low. That price. Pu Ding hesitated, thinking that with the global population of obese individuals being over 1 billion, the number of consumers at this price might significantly decrease. Think of it this way, if people find the price expensive, they can choose to exercise and lose weight themselves, which would be the cheapest way. We are earning from those who lack sufficient determination but still want to maintain a good figure. The truly poor should opt for exercising to lose weight, rather than expecting us to be overly charitable and lower our prices to benefit all of humanity. Su Jie made his decision, which won Lu Yingying's approval. Exactly, I even think the price is a bit low. There are more wealthy people in the world than you might expect, and to have a weight loss drug that doesn't require hard work, has no side effects, and shows instant results, there's no second provider but JECA Group. We deserve to make this money. The more Lu Yingying thought about it, the more excited she became. She had no doubt that both men and women who desired a good figure would be tempted by the extraordinary effects of Tianyuan slimming pills. Then it's decided, Yingying, go back and prepare the promotional materials. We will start stocking up next week. Then go ahead with the global market launch. Su Jie concluded decisively, setting the sale price of Tianyuan slimming pills at $300 apiece. At this price, they didn't need to sell too much. Just selling 100 million pills each month would result in an income of $30 billion, and annual revenues would exceed $300 billion. Net profit margins high enough to surpass or even crush Apple, the world's highest market value company. Considering the number of obese individuals worldwide, even if many are deterred by the price, reaching this goal isn't impossible. The Tianyuan slimming pills boasted a production value far exceeding that of the hair growth liquid and the myopia pills. Su Jie had high hopes for it, hoping it would become JECA Group's new money printer, bringing in a continuous stream of immense wealth. As the meeting concluded, the entire JECA Group mobilized its resources to promote Tianyuan slimming pills. Online, across various media platforms and the internet, JECA Group spent a hefty amount to advertise their new product using overweight and obese patients as case studies for a comprehensive product promotion. Offline, they leveraged the channels previously used for the promotion of Tianyuan hair growth liquid and Tianyuan myopia pills to expand their publicity efforts. With a dual approach, Tianyuan slimming pills became a sensation even before they went on sale. JECA Group already had a reputation to its name, and with the hair growth liquid and nearsighted pills' super therapeutic effects, their products were seen as a guarantee of efficacy by people all over the world. When the date reached September 5, 2025, Tianyuan slimming pills began to go on sale around the globe. Hua Country, Huadu. On the bustling commercial streets, JECA Group had spent a fortune to set up a direct sales flagship store that covered more than 1,000 square meters. Early that day, a long line had already formed outside the flagship store. While the morning mist had yet to clear, the queue of people had already reached over 100 meters in length. Quick, 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 get the camera ready. Huadu TV station reporter Song Yingy, holding a microphone and with the JECA Group flagship store as her backdrop, smiled at the camera and said, "Hello, everyone. I am currently standing in front of the JECA Group's flagship store in Huadu. It is now 8:03 in the morning, and as you can see, a large number of people have already lined up here. The queue has reached 200 meters and is still growing. Let's go and interview some of the customers on the spot." Following a brief introduction, Song Yingy found a heavy-set uncle. The man, weighing around 200 kilograms, was dressed in shorts and slippers, wearing an outfit that appeared to cost no more than 200 yuan. "Hello, sir. I am a reporter with Huadu TV station. I would like to interview you about whether you think the therapeutic effect of Tianyuan slimming pills is as miraculous as JECA Group advertises." Handing over the microphone, Song Yingy batted her eyes, relying on her outstanding appearance, and asked in a gentle tone. The interviewed uncle scratched his head and said, "JECA Group's products shouldn't be a problem. I've used their Tianyuan hair growth liquid and myopia pills before, and the effects are indisputable. They even cured my balding. But I didn't expect JECA Group to launch a slimming pill. Feels like it's tailor-made for me. I believe JECA Group wouldn't make false claims. The selling price announced by JECA Group is 1999 Hua Yuan per Tianyuan slimming pill. Wouldn't it be more cost-effective to simply exercise and lose weight on your own?" "Exercise on my own? No, I can't take that kind of suffering. Running and controlling my diet is something I cannot stand." The uncle immediately made a bitter face, shaking his head and waving his hands as if being asked to exercise was akin to taking his life. "Then, may I ask, how many Tianyuan slimming pills do you plan to buy?" "I plan to buy 100 pills. I'll use 60 for weight loss and keep the rest for emergencies." 100 pills? That's 200,000 Hua Yuan. Do you think the selling price of 1999 Hua Yuan for Jeka Group's slimming pills is too high? It's unaffordable for many who want to lose weight. Is it high? It's alright, it's about a month's income for me, so I think it's quite worth it. Besides, I think Jeka Group is very good. Their fight against Japan's self-defense team. I usually enjoy watching anti-Japanese dramas the most. Now that there's a real-life version of fighting the ghosts, I definitely want to support them. Buying more slimming pills is like contributing to Jeka Group's military fund. I hope Jeka Group can continue their good work and beat those Japanese ghosts hard. Finding the topic a bit sensitive, Song Ingi gulped and quickly said, "May I ask, Uncle, what do you do for a living? Isn't it a financial burden to buy so many pills at once?" "I don't have a job, but I collect rent from 10 houses." Hearing this response, Song Ingi was at a loss for words. It turned out that this unimpressive-looking plump uncle was actually a wealthy landlord. "Sorry to have disturbed you." Feeling the impact of a 10,000-ton blow, Song Ingi's mouth twitched. She could afford only a few Tianyuan slimming pills with a month's salary, while he could buy them without batting an eye. Pulling herself together, Song Ingi approached another young man. The guy was in his 20s, and what intrigued Song Ingi was that he appeared to be in good shape, with no signs of being overweight. "Hello, sir. I am a reporter with Huadu TV station. I'd like to ask you a few questions. You look in good shape, and you probably exercise regularly. Why are you also queuing up to buy slimming pills?" Well, I'm a scalper. I buy them to sell to other people." The scalper's answer was particularly straightforward, stunning Song Ingi. "You're stockpiling Tianyuan slimming pills for scalping? Can that work with hunger marketing too?" Song Ingi was surprised. She had heard of scalping for phones, but never for slimming drugs. "You find that strange? This is a product from Jeka Group. Based on past experience, Jeka Group's initial stock is limited. Before they can increase production capacity, they will not be able to meet the huge market demand, and that's our chance to mark up the price. It might even sell for 3,000 apiece. That's why I specially took out a loan from the bank to make a big score. At worst, with Jeka Group's quality and reputation, I can sell them at the buying price without losing money." The scalper proudly stated that his money-making scheme was very promising. Song Ingi had nothing to say and felt a bit outdated seeing the other's proud demeanor. During the repeated interviews, time reached 9 in the morning when the Jeka Group flagship store officially opened. Rustle. As soon as the door opened, the crowd instantly rushed into the store, shouting at the staff, "Give me 50 slimming pills. I want 200 slimming pills, hurry up. Hey, no cutting in front. I want 30 slimming pills." The swarming crowd continually scanned QR codes, and the Tianyuan slimming pills were handed over one by one. "Limited edition health slimming pills. Give me 100. Suddenly, a voice rang out amid the noise, and the scene immediately fell silent. Countless gazes turned to see an ordinary, overweight uncle in flip-flops and short speaking. It should be noted that Jeka Group's Tianyuan slimming pills, besides the regular version priced at 1999 Hua Yuan, also included a health commemorative version at 9,999 yuan per pill, and the exorbitantly priced Longevity Health Limited Edition at 49,999 yuan per pill. They say this slimming pill, packaged in gold foil and incorporating various precious herbs, not only reduces weight but also effectively nourishes the body and regulates the body's meridians, among other benefits. "Sir, sorry, we don't have that many limited health slimming pills here, only 50. We will promptly notify other stores to transfer goods." The store staff was also stunned and, after reacting, apologized earnestly. They hadn't expected that someone would buy 100 pills of the expensive limited health slimming pills without blinking, a deal worth 5 million. It was like selling jelly beans. "Then I'll come back in the afternoon to pick up the goods. I will pay by card now. Just have them ready for me then." The fat uncle was indifferent, paying by card directly, exceedingly carefree. "Sir, when you mentioned buying 100 pills, you meant the limited health version of the slimming pills." On the other side, Song Ingi, who squeezed in for an interview, saw this scene and realized this wealthy man was the same fat uncle she had interviewed earlier. Yes, exactly. Getting older. Figured I should treat myself better. Focus on health, you know? The price isn't high. It's just 1 month's rent. The fat uncle smiled, appearing very open-hearted. What has collecting rent become so profitable nowadays? Can 10 units earn that much? Song Ingi gasped, feeling as though her worldview had been rewritten. Not 10 units, but 10 buildings. The fat uncle blinked, correcting her. Song Ingi was silent. Now, is collecting rent counted by the building? Everyone in the flagship store also remained silent for a while, dumbstruck by this ostentatious display. Thinking of their own unresolved mortgages and car loans, day-to-day necessities, and silently shed some helpless tears. In Hua country, Russia, and various countries in the Middle East, Jekka Group sold Tianyuan slimming pills through all legal procedures. In this, sales of the commemorative and limited editions of Tianyuan slimming pills saw unexpectedly high sales figures. This slimming pill, packaged by Lu Yinging herself without affecting the drug's efficacy, had additional herbs added. You would say that these slimming pills sold at 11,000 each or even at 50,000 each are different from the ordinary slimming pills, but aside from the exceptionally exquisite and precious packaging, you can't say they lack any additional medicinal effects either, which means there is no difference at all. They simply offer psychological comfort. Yet, these high-priced slimming pills, which even the Jekka Group sees as no different, have been snapped up by the wealthy. In Hua country, every tycoon consumes the limited edition slimming pills to showcase their social status. Those less wealthy individuals also grit their teeth and purchase a commemorative slimming pill for 9,999 yuan. In various circles of social elites, the latest trend is no longer flaunting luxury watches or cars, but a box of gold-plated, limited edition Tianyuan slimming pills. For this reason, many fake socialites spare no effort to pool money together to buy the limited edition slimming pills, take turns to pose with them in photos, all to show off in their social circles, capturing the pills boxes accidentally during early tea and meals, presenting their refined and elegant lifestyle. In Russia, every oligarch sells the limited edition slimming pills by weight, for their own use and for their families. In the oil-producing countries of the Middle East, Tianyuan slimming pills are also incredibly popular. Those generous spenders who wrap cloth around their heads and casually spend on sports cars, planes, and yachts buy them by the hundreds, always choosing the most expensive limited editions. As for Europe and America, the Jekka Group is not so law-abiding there, embarking on the oldest trade of mankind by smuggling slimming pills into these countries. Since you dare to sanction me, I'll smuggle them in without paying your taxes. If you want to earn from my taxes, think again. Europe and America, led by the beautiful country, are absolutely frantic as they watch a huge amount of tax revenue slip through their fingers. Extremely distressed by this situation. You must know that in just 1 week, Tianyuan slimming pills had cumulatively sold over 80 million pills. Many people with the desire to purchase quickly placed their orders, leading to a drop in sales afterwards, but selling 2 billion pills in the first month was not a problem, with monthly sales expected to remain above 100 million thereafter. Such incredible wealth, and all from those commemorative and limited edition slimming pills, meant Jekka Group's revenue skyrocketed to $27.5 billion in just 1 week. This amount of money, especially since the countries of Europe and America couldn't earn a penny from it, turned them green with envy. They could only use various methods to combat the smuggling operations of Jekka Group, having a battle of wits and courage with the Tijuana Smuggling Group, supported by Sujia. On the border between the beautiful country and Mexico, a modern-day tunnel warfare unfolded, playing out a constant game of cat and mouse, with both sides inflicting losses on each other, though generally the Tijuana Smuggling Group ended up winning more. Empowered by Jekka Group's provision of strengthening pills and heavy weapons, the Tijuana Smuggling Group acted arrogantly, employing trained second-class and third-class super soldiers to fight the beautiful country's customs enforcement teams, even deploying rocket launchers, heavy machine guns, and infantry fighting vehicles. The beautiful country's customs enforcement teams were forced to constantly upgrade their military equipment to fight back, now utilizing tanks, armored vehicles, and armed helicopters. Wherever smuggling conflicts erupted, armed helicopters would take off to provide support, almost resembling a mechanized unit, showing how much pressure the Tijuana smuggling group had put on them. If the beautiful country wanted to conduct raids against smuggling, the Tijuana smuggling group had already placed all raw materials and production lines inside Mexico's slums, using the impoverished locals as workers. Whether it was the customs enforcement team from the beautiful country or the local police from Mexico, entering this area would only plunge them into the vast ocean of a people's war. The impoverished people of the slums, with nothing left to lose, would truly dare to fight for their interest with kitchen knives if you challenged them. In Europe, the operations of the Tijuana smuggling group are even more diverse. The fragmented nations there provide natural cover for smuggling activities. The Tijuana smuggling group, besides conducting the smuggling themselves, also engages actively in cooperation with local underworld organizations, where one supplies the goods and the other handles the sales, forming a perfect chain of profit. It can be said that globally, Tianyuan slimming pills had become an overnight sensation following their launch. Because of the explosive sales, Jekka Group's production capacity had to operate 24 hours non-stop, and still many places experienced stock shortages. After customers purchased and consumed these slimming pills, their effectiveness became apparent the very next day. Many people who took them on the same day noticed when they drank a lot of water and went to the bathroom, the discharged water contained oily spots. The miraculous effectiveness from the Tianyuan world, in the eyes of humans on Blue Star, was extremely astonishing. Fat was massively consumed by the slimming pills and expelled with fluids, reducing body weight as a result. Each person could take up to 3 pills a day, potentially losing 3 pounds daily, and if they continued taking them, the weight loss effect was rapid. In the face of such terrifying effectiveness, Tianyuan slimming pills completely solidified their product credibility. Countless first-hand accounts and visible weight loss effects among acquaintances convinced those who were still watching, making them decisively join the buying frenzy. And for those obese individuals who hadn't bought them yet, it wasn't that they didn't want to. They simply didn't have enough money. But the existence of Tianyuan slimming pills gave them something to aspire to, as many people made plans that once they had the money, they would definitely put Tianyuan slimming pills on their to-buy list. The miraculous Tianyuan slimming pills allowed me to lose nearly 100 pounds in a month. My wife, who originally weighed 200 pounds, has slimmed down so nicely it's unbelievable. Years of beer belly finally resolved. Long live Jekka Group. Long live Tianyuan slimming pills. I earnestly advise every person from the beautiful country, do not buy Tianyuan slimming pills. This helps the Jekka Group undermine world peace and order. We must consciously unite and not be bought over by Jekka Group's minor products. Get lost, target Jekka Group yourself if you want. I only care about my own health, which is the most important thing. Jekka Group is a trash company. A single Tianyuan slimming pill sells for $500 in our beautiful country, much more expensive than in Hua country and Russia. We must boycott Jekka Group for this price discrimination. Jekka Group conducts legal business in our Hua country. Why are the prices so high in Europe and America that you can't afford them? Better start looking at your own problems and reflect. Following the market release of Tianyuan slimming pills, the internet overflowed with positive reviews, any criticism drowned out by the majority's vehement responses. With the popularity of Tianyuan slimming pills, large sums of money were amassed from around the world. Europe and America were helpless, yet filled with envy, jealousy, and hate. Jekka Group, thanks to Tianyuan slimming pills, once again became a sensational and highly sought-after name globally. In the beautiful country, due to smuggling, the local price of Tianyuan slimming pills became even more expensive. Many middle-class consumers found this painful and public dissatisfaction rose again, blaming the beautiful country's government for restricting Jekka Group's products, forcing them to purchase at high prices from the black market, which inadvertently increased their burden. Consequently, many people in the beautiful country spontaneously organized and protested in the streets. They demanded the beautiful country government lift the sanctions on Jekka Group so they could buy Jekka Group's affordable products. Following the participation of a large number of African Americans, traditional arts began, and soon the protests turned into vandalism, looting, and arson, leading to spree of freeloading in many cities across the beautiful country. The government of the beautiful country was left frazzled and could only make official statements. The sanctions against JECA Group will not be lifted. We, the beautiful country, are a land of freedom and democracy and will never yield to extremist organizations like JECA Group. For this reason, we announced the planned deployment of an infantry battalion to Siam, increasing border patrol officers to combat JECA Group's illegal smuggling. At the same time, in order to bolster citizens' confidence, the government of the beautiful country again declared that breakthroughs had been achieved in the field of mecha, which would soon end the dominance of JECA Group's mecha, breaking their monopoly. The expulsion of JECA Group was imminent. Whether this news was true or not, it certainly shifted attention effectively. Many people in the beautiful country began to eagerly watch for their first domestically produced mecha, wondering when it would be launched and used in real combat. Beautiful country, San Francisco Bay Area, California, Silicon Valley. This renowned technology and internet hub is home to Boston Dynamics. This company, established in 1982 and renowned for its robotics, is best known for its robotic dog named Spot, capable of walking, running, climbing stairs, and handling slopes. After several ownership changes, Google company reacquired it from Korea's Hyundai Motors 6 months ago. Seizing this opportunity, Google initiated a brand new research project within Boston Dynamics. Humanoid powerful mecha, aimed to rival JECA Group's biological armor and the Tiger main battle mecha. Judith, along with a high-ranking military official, visited this technology company. He had recently been promoted to the position of CIA director, controlling the beautiful country's external intelligence and secret agents, holding significant power. Boston Dynamics also had the financial aid and technological support of the beautiful country's military and government, with frequent collaborations with government departments. To confront the superiority of JECA Group's mecha, the beautiful country had allocated nearly $80 billion to local military-industrial complexes for mecha research. As Boston Dynamics was sufficiently professional, having previously developed humanoid robots, they were seen as directly relevant for this research. Thus, 1/5 of the funding went to Boston Dynamics. 6 months had passed, and Judith planned to inspect their research and development results to see if the billions of dollars allocated were being utilized properly. Director Judith, General Mackin. A man hurried over. His name was Kejilo Clayton, 52 years old, the head of Boston Dynamics with a prestigious background which earned him this favorable position. Kejilo, how's the progress on your mecha research? Show us what you have. Judith stared at him. This surprise inspection had only been announced the day before, and he had come with high-ranking military officials, expecting no deception from the other party. Kejilo broke into a sweat, flashing a forced smile. Well, Director Judith, Judith's expression turned increasingly threatening as he spoke. You told us earlier that you had made progress, and then drew an additional $12 billion in funding. Don't tell me you haven't produced any results. Feeling Judith's gaze, Kejilo could only grit his teeth and say to the researchers beside him, Bring out our daring mecha and diamond mecha. Soon, 2 mechas were brought out. One of the mechas was approximately 2.5 meters tall, painted silver, and had an overall design somewhat similar to the oversized iron battlesuits seen in movies. If it weren't for the large bulge on its back, it would have looked quite impressive. The other mecha was 16 meters tall with an exceptionally bulky body. Its legs consisted of wheels almost as tall as a person, and its body was covered in metal frameworks and a mess of exposed, chaotic wiring. Director Judith, this is our research. The former is the daring mecha, built with a new type of aluminum alloy composite material. Its weight is only 1/3 that of traditional steel, meeting the demands for lightness while still providing decent defense capabilities, said Kejilo. As Kejilo spoke, a tester approached the daring mecha. The mecha's back could open to allow entry. The tester first stuffed their feet in and then bent down to crawl inside the mecha. As the mecha's sensors adhered to the tester's skin, the machine suddenly came to life. It began to move in front of Judith with somewhat stiff movements. But these movements made Judith frown, and the military representative, General Mackin, couldn't help but blurt out, Damn, it's slower than my grandma taking a walk, and it's so ugly. My soldiers are going to be laughed at by the enemy if they go into battle wearing this turtle battle armor. As the daring mecha walked, The giant whirring noise it emitted could be heard. The raised bump on its back, resembling a turtle shell, made it extremely difficult for the mecha to turn, squat, or jump, making it look like a patient with polio. Truly a pitiful sight. General Mackin, we are limited by our energy sources and could only use batteries. To ensure the mecha's endurance, we had to use a large battery pack, Kejilo explained embarrassingly. Even though they had used lightweight aluminum alloy, the 2.5-meter mecha was still overweight. In order to power the mecha, they had to maximize the battery count, causing the mecha to carry a turtle shell full of battery packs. Furthermore, due to limitations in transmission and joint technologies, the entire mecha's movements were very rigid. During the test, the daring mecha picked up a weapon to undergo further testing. It lifted an M2 heavy machine gun, aimed at the target and pulled the trigger. Flames spewed forth, and shells scattered as the immense recoil caused the mecha's arm to lift and the barrel to rise. The arm malfunctioned due to severe vibrations, and the mecha's arm and right shoulder joint froze. "Damn it! I can't stop it!" The tester inside the mecha exclaimed as their face turned pale, stumbling around while the gun began to sway unpredictably. A burst of bullets flew overhead, close to General Mackin and Judith, who immediately hit the ground, their faces turning white with fear. "Idiot! Quickly activate the emergency power cutoff," Kejilo cursed, jumping up and urgently reminding the operator. A dozen seconds later, with the power cut off, the daring mecha finally came to a halt. Meanwhile, General Mackin got up from the ground, his face flushed with rage as he yelled at Kejilo, "Shit! What kind of crap mecha is this? I nearly lost my life just now. I will never allow such junk to be included in our military procurement. Never." Judith's expression was ugly as she said, "So this is what Boston Dynamics has developed for the single soldier mecha? I see no merits to it at all. The movements are sluggish and rigid, the failure rate is high. It's more likely to destroy itself than be taken down by the enemy. Is this the result of billions of dollars of research? Compared to the biological armor enhancements of JECA Group for their soldiers, the daring mecha in Judith's view was an insult to the biological armor. The biological armor enhanced the combat capabilities of the driver, while this daring mecha reduced them. It was so stiff and slow in movement that even the speed of an average person was faster. With a failure rate so high it was almost unbearable to watch. Director Judith, we've done our best, but mecha research is exceptionally difficult. We've just started and there's still a long way to go to reach the level of JECA Group, Kejilo said, fearful of losing the support of the beautiful country's government. A company like Boston Dynamics, lacking commercial value, found it very difficult to identify a real point of profit. Judith, without a word, just pointed to the other large diamond mecha. This mecha had been brought in on a heavy flatbed truck and said, "Stop making excuses and continue with the test. I want to see what else you've managed to come up with. This diamond mecha, we've just finished developing it and it hasn't undergone any testing yet," said Kejilo. "Then today will be its first test," Judith said, cutting off Kejilo's stalling outright. "Someone go pilot the diamond battle armor," she ordered. Kejilo, gritting his teeth, could only muster up the courage, hoping that nothing would go wrong with this diamond mecha. "Hold on, Judith, let's move back a bit. Let's not lose our lives here," General Mackin said bluntly, showing his distrust for Boston Dynamics and already taking the lead in moving away quickly. Kejilo stood rooted to the spot in embarrassment. "Don't mention him." The nearby researchers all bowed their heads, obviously feeling too ashamed. "Begin the test as soon as possible." Judith shook her head, thinking about the recent test of the daring mecha, and with a heavy heart, she followed General Mackin along to a safe location before signaling to the other party to start the test. Soon, a tester climbed up the soft ladder behind the diamond, one step at a time, reaching the top of the diamond mecha's head, which housed a cockpit with various gears and buttons. Our diamond mecha stands 16.35 meters tall, rivaling the Tiger main battle mecha showcased during JECA Company's military parade, possessing. As Kejilo was giving Judith an introduction, the just-activated diamond mecha suddenly flipped over. A literal flip, as the diamond mecha attempted to take a step with its hydraulic legs. The massive weight rendered it unable to maintain balance. Nowadays, humanity faces several challenges in using humanoid robots, one of which is walking. Even human-sized robots struggle to be adjusted to walk like a normal person, let alone such a mecha, standing over a dozen meters tall and weighing hundreds of tons. Then, as soon as 1 foot of the diamond mecha touched the ground, sparks flew from its joints. Next, its body tilted and it crashed heavily from the flatbed trailer onto the ground. Various parts scattered in all directions, black diesel and oil flowing everywhere. The mecha's head on its neck rolled around like an iron ball, detaching and tumbling away, with the pilot inside covered in blood. Then, black smoke began billowing from various parts of the mecha, flames appeared, and a large fire engulfed the mecha as the work crew scrambled for extinguishers and hoses to douse the flames. "I knew it, thank goodness I was far away," General Mike said, relieved. If he hadn't moved away earlier, he might have been hit by flying debris. Judith remained silent, just staring at Kegelo, making him sweat profusely. "I'm terribly sorry, truly sorry, Director Judith. There are just too many challenges with heavy mechas, energy, transmission, intelligent control. We will definitely strive to improve. Please believe in us." Kegelo rushed over to explain to Judith, who was struggling to express his difficulties. Although the Diamond Mecha performed poorly just now, that truly was the best that Boston Dynamics could do with a heavy mecha, even if it was just a prototype that could barely move. Judith left with a dark expression, thoroughly disappointed in Boston Dynamics. The result she saw was far from what she'd envisioned for the mecha, and it lacked any real combat capability. The only consolation for Judith was that large mechas were so difficult to operate, clearly indicating major design flaws. If their side couldn't develop it, it was likely that JECA Group was half-baked in this area as well. In a real battlefield, the mecha would just be a target. There was no need to worry about their Tiger main battle mecha dominating in every direction. The beautiful country originally planned a series of actions, taking into account the threat of the Tiger main battle mecha. Now, in Judith's eyes, even if JECA Group was somewhat ahead of the beautiful country in mecha technology, they certainly wouldn't be able to use large mechas in actual combat. Otherwise, why had there been no news of the Tiger main battle mecha since the parade? It suggested this large mecha must also have substantial flaws, allowing them to execute their plans boldly and with confidence. Siam capital, Manchester. Shaong and Smith had arrived, under the guise of inspecting commercial interests. Although tensions were high between Chan Country and Siam, businessmen eager to turn a profit were still collaborating with each other. Chan Country was currently undergoing extensive construction, and the JECA Group was spending big, making the economy within Siam as a neighboring country very prosperous as well. Some of the civilian contracts issued by the JECA Group had been taken up by Siam merchants, second only to those in Hua Country, so economic exchanges between the two countries were still relatively frequent. However, Smith and his companions had come to Siamese Manchester not to engage in real economic activities to make money. "The recent peace in Manchester is a bit too much for my liking," Shaong said, sitting in a sedan, puffing smoke while looking at the bustling street scene of Manchester with a hint of playfulness on his face. Manchester is both the capital and largest city of Siam, also known as the Angel City, located on the east bank of the May River, south to Siam Bay. In Asia, it is one of the major cities with a population of 13 million, accounting for 44% of Siam's total economy. Manchester Port handles 90% of Siam's foreign trade, and each year, 200 to 300 various international conferences are held here. In the ranking of global cities, Manchester stands at 36th worldwide. Pity this city. If everything goes as planned, it might soon turn into a battlefield, no longer living up to the name of Angel City, Shaong said, flicking his cigarette but out of the window and shifting his gaze. The idea of turning a peaceful region into a war-torn area may sound inhumane, but that's what they're there for. The CIA are the ones doing the dirty work. "Have you already decided to make a move?" Smith asked, holding a tablet, somewhat surprised at his new boss Shuang's words. A closer look at the tablet in his hand would reveal a defensive layout map, showing the Manchester Royal Palace and its immediate surroundings. The Manchester Royal Palace has always been the residence of the Siam royal family, Located beside the May River, central and housing a vast complex of ancient architecture, covering an area of 218,400 square meters, originally built in 1782. It has been developed continuously over generations into a magnificently sized complex, with incredibly exquisite artistry in paintings, sculptures, and decorations, reflecting the nation's cultural attributes. The situation in Siam is different from most countries. The royal family still holds significant power, controlling the various factions within the country and the military. The constitution and laws of Siam clearly define the king's position of power, with the highest authority over the country's administration, military, and social management all consolidated under the king. Such a presence like the Siam royal family is rarely seen in today's advanced and technologically developed age. The Manchester Royal Palace serves as the royal residence, but after the old king was assassinated in the palace in 1946, the royal family moved to the newly built De Palace, located east of the royal palace. Besides being used for coronation ceremonies, court celebrations, and other events, the royal palace is open to the public on regular days, becoming a well-known sightseeing location in Siam. I received a message from headquarters this morning. Director Judith has officially launched the Heron and Clam plan. Don't even talk about you. Even I am a bit surprised, Shaong said calmly, surprised by the news from the beautiful country. He had expected things to quiet down recently, not anticipating that new operations would be deployed so quickly at home. It's probably because Tianyuan slimming pills are selling too well. It's said that just with this product, Jekka Group can make a monthly revenue of 30 to 40 billion US dollars. The income for a year is almost a third of our military expenditures. Who wouldn't be envious? Smith insightfully pinpointed the essence of the situation. The world hustles and bustles for profit, as the saying goes. Beautiful country is a capitalist-dominated nation, and even the president has to comply with the wishes of capital to some extent. The vast interests represented by the Jekka Group naturally make the capital of the beautiful country reveal its greedy claws. Shaong cleared his throat and said, "Let's not speculate about the domestic situation. We'll just follow orders. The Water Lantern Festival is just around the corner, and that will be our time to move. Is everything prepared here? We've cultivated our precious chess piece for many years. It's time for him to take charge. Enough time. Let's first arrange for a group of agents to practice, and we'll need support from Special Command. We also aim to secure backup from Delta Force and the SEAL Assault Team, setting the date for November 13th. Smith put away his tablet and stated his requirements. "No problem. I'll handle the communication, and the manpower will definitely be arranged," Shaong said, nodding with a smile at the corner of his mouth. 8 days later, on November 13th, this day marks the well-known traditional Water Lantern Festival in Siam. The Water Lantern Festival is celebrated on the 15th night of the 12th month of the Siam calendar. Siamese residents float their handmade water lanterns in the river, entrusting their wishes and blessings. On this day, Siam King Raja Jigenglong also arrives at the royal palace to celebrate with the people. In attendance for the ceremony are also his children and the citizens who come to revel in the celebration. According to tradition, the festivities begin in the evening, with joyously dressed residents singing and dancing in the palace to welcome the festival. Offering to the heavens, hoping Jekka Group will topple soon, Siam King Raja wrote down his wish on a floating lantern, utterly simple and unadorned. "Grandfather, is the Jekka Group really that dangerous?" At his side, his grandson blinked, only in his early teens and not yet understanding much. "One can't allow others to snore beside their couch. You'll understand in the future." King Raja rubbed his grandson's head while the other members of the royal family could relate. Although the Jekka Group had not been established for long, its barbaric and warlike approach allowed it to grow through constant warfare. The neighboring Chan country was once just a poor country embroiled in warlord conflicts, allowing Siam to develop peacefully. But now, with Jekka Group ruling Chan country and unifying its territory, Siam suddenly faced a massive surge in military pressure. It could be said Siam had regrets about signing the agreement to join the 8-nation group too early, getting pulled into the coalition's war cart for a bit of benefit promised by the beautiful country, only to become a target of the Jekka group. Back then, Siam never imagined the Jekka group could survive amid the strikes from the Eight-Nation group led by the beautiful country. Far from being destroyed, they fought the battles stronger than before and eventually unified the nation. When the Jekka group took over Chan country and began positioning troops along the border, Siam realized it was too late for regrets. They had already boarded the beautiful country's war chariot. Leaving the Eight-Nation group to ease relations with Jekka group would only completely offend the beautiful country, something they couldn't afford. Siam was already highly bound to the beautiful country, and its upper echelons pursued pro-beautiful country policies, as was traditional. After the Second World War, Siam became the first ally of the beautiful country in Southeast Asia. The beautiful country even used Siam as a bridgehead for its return to Asia, providing extensive military support. They sold Siam a lot of beautiful country-standard weaponry at comparatively preferential prices, including the prevalent culture of ladyboys in Siam, which were also a cultural import from the beautiful country. During the Vietnam War last century, there were over 40,000 beautiful country soldiers in Siam, who used it as a logistical base for their offensives into Henan. And these soldiers had their secret physical needs, which could easily be catered to by the enticing establishments around the military bases. Due to the financial hardships within Siam at the time, men, let alone women, in dire need of money would dress as women to earn the soldiers' cash. Savvy businessmen gradually spotted this opportunity, and along with the Siam elite's efforts to please the beautiful country soldiers from top to bottom, the culture of ladyboys evolved. Thus, it was clearly evident how dominant the beautiful country once was in Siam. Calling them a puppet dangled by the beautiful country was not an excess. Today, the presence of the beautiful country in Siam seems significantly diminished on the surface. Especially after the Vietnam War, the beautiful country's influence in Southeast Asia was severely damaged, leading to other countries in the area becoming estranged. But behind the scenes, the beautiful country has always been supporting its own forces in Siam. This is something Siam is aware of. Everyone tacitly understands and dares not to openly confront, as they still depend economically on the beautiful country. All these factors have resulted in Siam being caught between two pressures: fearing bullying from the virile Jekka group on one hand, and fearing the beautiful country would make even more excessive demands, using them as a bastion against Jekka group on the other. Though Siam is currently expanding its military and has purchased various advanced weapons from the beautiful country, frankly, Siam has no desire to fight with the Jekka group. There was nothing to gain. Why should they fight to the death for the beautiful country? In warfare, they would be the ones hurt. Not to mention, the position of the Siam royal family was not very solid to begin with. Modern technology has enlightened people, and even in Siam, the calls for limiting the king's power are rising. If they were to go to war with Jekka group and it went poorly, the king would certainly have to take responsibility afterward. Any damage to the king's prestige could only lead to a decline in power, which is exactly what the Siam royal family doesn't want to see happen. Father, I believe the Jekka group won't be able to show off its might for long. As the saying goes, those who are fond of war will inevitably perish. Jekka group is so arrogant now, and it has offended every country in the surrounding region. We just need to wait for the right time when Jekka group will fall. Seeing the worry of their father, the king, about the Jekka group, several sons of King Raha came forward to comfort him, with words from 4th Prince Puping Adud particularly touching. Fond of war will inevitably perish, that's correct. Jekka group is just being arrogant for now. Su Jie, a man from Hua country ruling over Chan country as a foreigner in a strange land, will sooner or later be overthrown. King Raha nodded, Jekka group's recent success having become his constant worry. The better they did, the more uneasy he felt. So, father, you needn't worry. Under your wise leadership and with our 600,000 troops, a mere Jekka group is nothing to fret over. My wish this year is for your health and for the Jekka group to collapse soon, to stabilize our royal family's reign. The 4th Prince, Puping, spoke these words and then walked to the edge of the pool, personally releasing his lantern with its wish onto the water. You're thoughtful. King Raha nodded appreciatively, tapping his own leg. I'm getting old. It's tough to stand for long periods. Everyone, please go ahead and participate in the festivities.